Good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. A lot to do on a Friday edition of the program. Obviously, it's been a difficult week, and we're going to spend a couple more minutes today remembering Tony Siragusa, as our buddy Kelly Gregg is going to check in with us. But we also want to talk baseball. Sam the Fan's going to stop by a little bit later on. We're going to do our MLB draft segment for the week. Keith Law from The Athletic is going to join us. Orioles, another win last night in Chicago. Austin Hayes continues to be on an absolute heater. The outfield defense is bonkers. Anthony Santander making throws. Cedric Mullins covering about 6,000 feet at a time. Austin Hayes laying out to make ridiculous catches right on the chalk. It was a fun night to watch baseball. Just a fun night to watch a baseball game. Adley Rutschman coming up with big hits. Ryan Mountcastle. These are the types of things. It's so much more pleasant. I know Rougned Odor was fun for a little while, but Rougned Odor is not going to help the Baltimore Orioles at any point where it matters. It's so much more fun when you're watching Ryan Mountcastle and Austin Hayes and Adley Rutschman and, I don't know, maybe Dean Kramer. Maybe that's becoming a thing. We got to talk about it. He's got to stack more starts. We can't overreact it too. But so far, so good. Trying to figure out if you got pitchers moving forward. Tyler Wells looks like he might be a pitcher. Dean Kramer trying to prove that he could be a pitcher. It was pleasant at the beginning of the year. I kept using the word pleasant. I kept saying, hey, don't overreact to it. It's just pleasant. But it's more pleasant when it involves the guys who either are a part of the future or have a chance to force their way into being part of the future. That's something a little bit more than pleasant. Like, Trey Mancini's been amazing. He's been incredible this season. It's more significant, since we've all kind of made peace with the idea that Trey Mancini is likely to be gone. It's more significant to see the guys that you are convinced are part of the next 5 years be the guys that are leading a baseball team to big wins, coming up with big hits. So much fun. So much fun. Just a fun night to watch baseball. Today's show brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, which is the place to be for every major event. 1 week from tomorrow night, UFC 276. Israel Adesanya is in action. You want to be there. You want to get your bets in. 61 self-service kiosks. You can watch the fight for free. Why pay for the pay-per-view? Come down to Hanover and Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Watch the fight for free and come out on top. Come out having made money. You can buy beers and food, sports and social, and still end the night with more money than you started with when you bet on those 61 self-service kiosks in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. If you want to reserve your spot for UFC 276 next Saturday night, the best way to do it would be to email events@sportssocialmd.com. That's events@sportssocialmd.com in order to guarantee your table for you and your friends, in order to guarantee your set of reclining chairs, whatever it is that you're looking for. Go ahead and email them. So I've done this before. And I apologize. It's something I should do more often. It's a question that I ask in a certain form. And today it's, how do we talk to our kids about? How do we talk to our kids about Austin Hayes? And so far, I had to give it a little bit of an explainer. I think most of you know what it is that I'm asking. We're all very excited about Austin Hayes. Austin Hayes should be an all-star. Well, okay, yeah, maybe. I mean, you just can't get me to get worked up about these things. These things are trivial. They don't actually matter. I mean, they matter to Austin Hayes, and I'd be happy for Austin Hayes if he was an all-star. But if he's not, it impacts my life in no ways. It impacts the Orioles long-term in no ways if Austin Hayes isn't an all-star. My question, how do we talk to our kids about Austin Hayes, is in relation to who he is, what he is, where he is, how he fits. That's the question. The question is, what do we believe Austin Hayes to be? And I brought this up yesterday in reaction to those of you that are screaming, we have to extend him now. To which I say, well, that doesn't actually make any real sense. I mean, I get it. We're all having fun watching Austin Hayes play baseball, but are we convinced he's a Nick Markakis-like centerpiece of a franchise for the next 10 years? To which I say, maybe.
Defensively almost seems certainly. Like, it seems like he's
a hell of a defense. He's a hell of a defender.
Could win a Gold Glove this year.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, he'd be deserving. Are we convinced of that? Do we think he's a talented player who might be having, a Scotty Scheffler-like heater, and 3 months from now we might say, right, we got a little carried away, didn't we? What is it? What do we think Austin Hayes is? That's what I want to know. At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, and a lot of you have gotten in already, and the response is kind of all over the place, which is weird. Mikey, I could certainly see him becoming an Adam Jones-level player. Not a league superstar who goes top 10 in every fantasy league draft, but absolutely good enough to be a key part of a contending team. I think the comparison to Adam Jones probably is the incorrect one, but I'm mostly saying that because Adam Jones was a center fielder and because center field's a more important position. To say, could he replicate the numbers? I don't know, maybe. He'd have to up the power maybe even a little bit more. Like Adam Jones, I get it, was not a 35 home run guy year in and year out for a decade, but Adam Jones, power-wise, was more consistently right around 30 home runs for a 6-year span. Adam Jones, from 2012 to 2017, didn't have a season with fewer than 26 home runs.
He also wasn't playing in that left field. Well.
No, that's fair. I mean,
I think they have shown like stats that really doesn't take away that many home runs. I think is
no. I don't think Austin Hayes specifically has lost many home runs this season. Look, he's hit 10 home runs and he hit 22 a year ago. If he's growing into his power, like maybe he could be that guy. For what it's worth, in Adam Jones' first full season in the major leagues, he was only a 19 home run guy. So it could very well be that Austin Hayes is growing into his power. I don't know. I mean, like I'm just not ready to go there just yet. Like I think the more practical question is, could he be? Look, Nick Markakis was such a professional hitter that again it becomes difficult to compare someone to either of those guys, and maybe it's some sort of weird amalgamation. But I'm not ready to make a comparison between Adam Jones and Austin Hayes, specifically because of the home run bat. From Rob. Definitely not a centerpiece for a decade. He seems to be past his injury issues, but he's still someone you will question durability. He's a very good player when healthy, who can be a solid piece on a contending team. I don't think we need to make him out to be more than that. Okay. I mean, there might be some hair splitting going on here. It's always difficult. I would have to ask Rob, how do you describe Nick Markakis? Because Nick Markakis was never a baseball superstar. So if for you centerpiece is reserved for the Manny Machados of the world, what we think Adley Rutschman is supposed to become, Bryce Harper, Nolan Arenado, Jose Ramirez, that type of player, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.,
perennial MVP candidate.
Right, if those are the only players allowed to be centerpieces, Mookie Betts, then sure, of course not. I don't think it'd be insane to talk about Austin Hayes that way. But I believe Nick Markakis was a centerpiece of a generation of good baseball teams in Baltimore. Not the centerpiece, a centerpiece. A critical piece of a franchise's success for a prolonged period of time.
Like Adam Jones.
Adam Jones was definitely a centerpiece. I don't think there would be any debate from anyone about that. Manny Machado was the centerpiece. He was the best player. And as much as we don't like to admit it now, Chris Davis was maybe, it's between Adam Jones and Chris Davis for 2. But Nick Markakis was of that ilk. He was a centerpiece. Seth Smith was not. Nate McLouth was not. Mark Reynolds, Mark Trumbo were not. Matt Wieters was probably closer, and J.J. Hardy were closer to that. Although we'd put them behind Nick Markakis on the list, they were closer to centerpieces than they weren't. So we might just be splitting hairs on how we describe the term centerpiece. Because I'm not saying he's the guy you're building your franchise around, but are we talking about Austin Hayes as if he is a guy that you want to commit to making sure he's here for 6 years and not just the next few years where he's eligible for arbitration? Allen's very simple, says he's a star. Again, you got to tell me what you think that means. I mean, that's not really... It comes off kind of cop-out-y. Are you saying he's a star in the way that Nick Markakis was a star here? I keep coming back to the Nick Markakis comparison because it's a corner outfielder that we're talking about. And somebody would say, hey, Austin Hayes is probably has better range and covers more than Nick Markakis did. Nick Markakis, of course, had a wonderful arm, but Austin Hayes' arm might be better than that. My God! These throws that he's making. And Nick Markakis had a wonderful arm. That's sort of my barometer, right? Because Nick Markakis was a guy the Orioles felt the need to give a 6-year deal to. Say, you got to be here. You've got to be a part of this thing. From Justin. He was a top prospect. He's playing well. Let's just ride it out and see what happens. If someone offers a crazy prospect package, you take it. I mean, that's sort of absurd. This goes back to what we were talking about with Drew the other day, where Drew was like, well, yeah, everybody's available. It's not that. It's essentially the opposite. Like, again, if what you're saying is if somebody wants to offer you 3 top 20 prospects in all of baseball, you'll trade Austin Hayes. I mean, I guess, because it's such an absurd offer that you kind of have to take it. But it's so absurd, it's not worth talking about. I mean, there's just no way right now to think that you could recoup that value in what someone would be willing to trade for Austin Hayes. So why are we doing that? This isn't 2019. We're now looking at Austin Hayes as if he's a part of the future. It's unfathomable to me that we're having a conversation, Justin, about the idea of trading him. To which Larry says, you don't trade prospects in a rebuild unless you have a logjam at the position. You trade aging vets for more prospects, and I don't see any of our aging vets having trade value. They'll be DFA'd at the proper time. Well, yeah, that's a different conversation. That we're having an Austin Hayes conversation. But yes, that's where the Orioles are. The guys that they want to trade aren't guys with trade value. There's no value in Rougned Odor. I mean, there might be, you can, as I've said before, you can maybe get something for Jordan Lyles just simply because there's always a premium in pitching. Nothing of significance, but something. And we'll see what Trey Mancini's trade value ends up being. I don't think there is a lot, but he's definitely having a really nice season, and hopefully that helps. Chris says, Glenn, I'm not convinced that he is a centerpiece just yet, but I'm convinced that we need to ride this thing out. It could be that a year from now, he is blossoming into maybe not a star of stars, but someone that we genuinely believe is going to be here for the next decade. That's sort of I think that's where Chris, that's to me the most practical thing. I'm excited about Austin Hayes. It's fun to watch Austin Hayes play baseball right now. A lot of fun, in fact. But it's where I preach patience. I like Austin Hayes. I think he's a nice player. I want a little more time before I anoint Austin Hayes as a long-term part of the solution for the Baltimore Orioles. Right now, I think he could very well be. But we're overreacting to a small sample size where he's been exceptional. We're buying into the idea that what we saw a year ago was him building towards becoming such an exceptional player. So we're looking at someone who was on track to becoming an exceptional baseball player. But I just need to keep seeing it for a little while. I need to keep seeing it for at least another full season. And at that point, that's the good news for the Orioles. They have time to say it might be costing more, or you're allowing him to get closer to free agency, allowing him to make the decision that he wants to get to free agency. Perhaps that's what you're doing. But it's the risk that you kind of almost have to take. Maybe not have to, but it's probably the best risk to take at this point. At least wait until the end of the year to have that conversation. Continue to give me your thoughts. How do we talk to our kids about Austin Hayes? @Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. When we come back in, we're going to share some more Tony Siragusa memories. Kelly Gregg, Buddy Lee himself, he's going to join us next. Glenn Clark Radio. Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy our award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try our fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or our scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for our daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. Visit us at glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Are you ready, soccer fans? This summer, the English Premier League returns to Baltimore. Arsenal, Everton, square off in the Charm City match, July 16th, under the lights at M&T Bank Stadium, home of the Baltimore Ravens. This is your only opportunity to take in a Premier League match this summer in the Mid-Atlantic region. Individual and group tickets are on sale at BaltimoreRavens.com.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and it's our very first Salute the Coaches issue. On the cover, we recognize Ravens coach John Harbaugh ahead of his 15th season. Also inside, find tributes to Navy football coach Ken Niumatalolo, UMBC soccer coach Pete Caringi, Maryland soccer coach Sasho Sorovsky, and field hockey coach Missy Maharg, Mount St. Joe basketball coach Pat Clatchy, and Poly basketball coach Kendall Peace. We also honor recently retired Johns Hopkins lacrosse coach Janine Tucker and Calvert Hall baseball coach Lou Eckerl, the athletes whose lives these coaches have impacted, offering insights on what makes them special and why they've stood the test of time. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Don't forget that full episodes of the show are available for free on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. But warning, you get what you pay for. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR. Today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. Obviously, it's been a tough week here in Baltimore, but you know, I always love having a conversation with our next guest. He's one of my favorite people. I just wish this wasn't the topic we were talking to him about. He, when he arrived in Baltimore, at a very young point in his career, he was playing behind the likes of Tony Siragusa, and of course, he went on to have a decade here in Baltimore as one of the most beloved figures in Ravens history. It's always a pleasure for us to welcome back in our friend, Buddy Lee himself, Mr. Kelly Gregg, who's with us now here on GCR. Kelly, it's Glenn. I'm sorry this is what we're talking about, but I always appreciate you taking the time for us, my friends.
Oh, well, you bet. I appreciate you. Yeah, just awful. Man, what a terrible week for the Ravens. But, yeah, I mean, like you were talking about Goose, I mean, you know, I remember when I first came into the Ravens, you know, my first week there, he sat me down and he was like, hey, man, you need to gain some weight and play the run, and you'll have a great career. And I mean, I tell you what, I mean, I owe all the playing I did to Goose. You couldn't ask for a better teammate and a better person.
Man,
Big Goose.
Tell me about that. Cause, you know, Kelly, you and I are going to talk plenty about his larger than life personality, and you know how many stories have been told and how many will never be told about Tony Siragusa. But as a teammate, as a leader, as a football player, can you tell me more about what he meant to you in carving out your own career?
You know, obviously, I mean, you know, when you look at Goose, right, and, not the most, like, one of the smartest guys. I mean, you know, you see him sometimes stand up there in his stance and he's reading the backfield. I mean, you know, and that defensive line room, especially, you know, maybe on practice squad around the 2000, you know, it just gave you so much confidence. I mean, that guy, I mean, the toughness and everything. More than anything, he was one of the smartest guys. I mean, you know, everybody was trying to scheme to get him and Sam off the field. You know, the way they stopped the run, it's because they were both so smart. Sam was explosive, but Goose was so smart. And I mean, I you know, just being around him made you a better player. And you know, I mean, everything that I would use, you know, to read the formation, everything I learned from Goose. I mean, you know, and he was one of those guys that made everything fun. It was tough. Two-a-days and everything, but you know, Goose always had a smile when we were working and everything. And you know, just you know, sometimes you'd be around veterans. There'd be some guys that may be a little, you know, maybe didn't want to give you everything to try to hold you back, but not. I mean, Goose. I mean, he was just wanting to help all the young guys and everything. And usually, when you have a big guy like that, I mean, you don't find guys like that. But you know, Goose would gave you the shirt off his back.
I mean, he had no problem hazing him too. For the record, he had no problem. I know. We were talking yesterday with Jelly Roll. He's like, dude, I would buy $1,000 rib dinners, but he paid me back. That's the way it went. Kelly Gregg. Kelly, I feel like there was a parallel. Goose was someone who came in undrafted. You were a late round pick. Someone had to go the practice squad route at the beginning of your career. Did you feel parallels to Tony? Did you feel? I know he was more massive than you were, which is amazing to say because he's probably about the only human being that was more massive than you. But did you feel parallels between he and yourself?
Oh yeah, he would talk about it. I mean, I'll never forget. He told me he lied to the Colts to tell them that he could deep snap.
Yep.
You know, to go there as an undrafted free agent. And, once he got there, obviously playing the run, and it was a great system there. We always, learning from him to keep the money clean with Ray back there, and just the way he played. But yeah, definitely, and he'd give you that confidence too. I mean, he'd say, I remember him sitting there and he's kicking field goals at the old. Kicking field goals and kicking footballs over the fence at the old practice facility. And I just remember him, saying one day, he's like, man, I've done this for 10 years. He says, you can too. And just the confidence. And, like you said, with Jelly Roll and everything, that defensive line room, there'd be so many posters in that wall because guys, just toughness, fighting guys. We'd have to cover up the walls and everything. I mean, you look back, and that was some of them. Playing with him those couple of years was the most fun football I ever had playing with a guy.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. Did you ever try to get him to wrestle you? Did you ever maybe try to shoot one time with him?
Yeah, I used to tell him all the time when I was a young guy, hey, well, I'll wrestle you for checks. But no, Goose, I mean, that was, he was state champ, but no, Goose, too much respect for Goose. He would have thrown me around, Goose. He would have thrown me around.
I would have paid any number to have seen that match. There is no number. I don't care what the check is. I don't care if it means I would have had to give up my house. I would have done it. I would have done it to have seen that.
Like you said, me backing him up for them couple of years, and then once he retired, obviously with Rex still being around,
yep.
I never wanted to let Tony down. The way they played the run so hard. And
wow.
You look at those guys with the technique, and just learning from him and Rob Burnett, and Michael McCray, and those guys. They would come around, and after they retired, and you just never wanted to let those guys down because the toughness they instilled in us is young guys. I mean, I owe my 13 years in the league to Goose.
Wow. I mean, it's really powerful to hear you say that, dude, because, look, you were going to try to have a career for yourself no matter what, but you genuinely thought about that as you moved into that role, and over the next decade was, I have to live up to this standard.
Definitely. Play like a Raven, and, big 98 there, and, like I said earlier, he was the guy that, when I was on the practice squad, I was like 270. And, he was like, hey, use this as a redshirt year in college and gain weight and play the run. And, that's one thing, we were never the prettiest guys in our pads and anything, but that's one thing great about the Ravens. They didn't care what you looked like as long as you could play and great effort. And, I'd go in there, and if I got blocked, I'd feel bad for a play just because I felt like I let Goose down.
Man, that is wild, Kelly. I never knew that. That's really wild. That's so cool. That's so powerful.
One of the best stories ever. I'm playing. I get off the practice squad, and I'm playing on that 2001, and I'm starting on goal line. They have to have like 4 defensive linemen start on goal line. So I run out there, and I'll never forget. I forgot who we were playing, but Goose was like, "Hey, we know where they're running. They're running at you, Kelly." And I was like, "Man, please be quiet. They're going to hear you make it. Just that good, that good ribbon, skin like an armadillo." And I'll never forget. I was like, "Oh my God, they really are coming towards me." He's like, "Hey, they're running at Kelly," and just the most. Even in the games, we had so much fun, and that's the way you should play the game and live life.
Hang on, but you're burying the lead. Did you make the play or not?
No, I think it was a play-action pass.
Oh.
I'll never forget. I was like, if they run over me and they score, I'll never get back on the field.
No doubt. Right?
Right.
How do you even walk back to the sideline at that point?
Right. That was just him seeing what kind of guy you were. To try to test you. And once you were in, man, he would do anything for you. You couldn't ask for a better teammate.
Man, do you have a favorite? Did he ever get you on a prank, Kelly? Did he ever? Well, of course, famously, we all know what he did to Shannon. Everybody is familiar.
I'll tell you, one of the best ones he ever did. We went deer hunting, and he got a deer, and he was going to mount the head, and he brought the head in the Ravens locker room. And Ray, all those guys, those tough guys. I've never seen so many guys run out of that locker room when Goose was chasing with that deer head. I loved it. I've never seen those guys. Those guys were tougher than anything. And you thought a dead deer, they ran for the hills, those guys.
I'm literally picturing it right now. Just coming in and coming after him. Hey, Ray, did you see this?
Yeah, see what we shot? And those guys, they blitzed out of it. I think it was a big old 10-point, too.
That's so great. He
always had it so much fun. I'll never forget Matt Simon, the running back coach.
Yeah.
Comes into the defensive line meeting room and is like, "Hey guys, this is when they're playing them in the playoffs, Denver Broncos." And he had coached at Denver, and he was like Tom Nalen and these guys. And I just remember Goose slamming the door in his face. "Get the blank out of here! There ain't nobody tougher than us." And boy, they dominated that offensive line. But Goose didn't want to hear it. Goose was like, "We're going to go out there and play our way and punch them in the nose."
Yeah, by the way, it worked out for you guys. That strategy appeared to be okay for what you were able to do, man.
That's right.
Boy, Kelly, I'm gonna pee myself in a second listening to you talk about Tony Siragusa. Some of the things that have come up this week, and you weren't here in '96, but you still arrived in the infancy of the franchise. And Kelly, you know what the Ravens became in this town, obviously.
Right.
I credit Tony with so much of the relationship between this city and this football team. Look, you guys won a Super Bowl, and you had superstar players, and the city was always going to inevitably embrace the Ravens. But the personal connection, and you know this as well as anyone, because you were a defensive tackle and people owned your jersey in this town, right? Like,
right. That's all because of Goose, you know.
Right.
Like, you know, that's what Baltimore is. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, NFL players, you know, they want them 6'4", 280, but I mean, Goose brought that toughness to that Baltimore, you know, like, hey, you know, we may not be the, you know, we ain't winning no eye test, but, you know, darn it, there ain't no one going to run on us, and we're going to knock your rear ends back in the backfield, and, you know, just sort of that hard-working mentality of Baltimore, you know, like, that's what, you know, you see all the guys would wear 98 Goose, and you know, the people, I mean, just hard-working, tough dudes.
I don't know that there's any football player that did more for the relationship between this franchise and this city than Tony Siragusa did. Like,
I'm with you.
The touch, the connection, the willingness to go out and, you know, grab people by the back of their neck and tell them that they loved them. You know, I don't know. I don't know that there's one person that meant more in establishing that connection than Tony did.
I agree totally. I mean, he would stop for everybody. I mean, it was just bigger than life.
Yep.
You know, it was so fun to be with him, and you know, just everything. I'll never forget trying to hide on Hard Knocks, you know, down in that bar down there, because you know I'm a young guy, and Goose was like, hey, we're drinking, you know, having a good time. But I tell you, when it was time to work and get after it, there's no one that worked harder. But you know, we always had a lot of fun, and you know, I think the people in the city grew for that. You know, football's supposed to be fun, and there's nobody that had more fun. I could still see him making a tackle for a loss and doing that big old them wings.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he's smiling down on us up there right now.
I don't remember who it was that said it the other day, but imagine being a guy who had 2 sacks per season and yet you had a sack dance. Like, just
Hey, Goose is one of the only guys too. We're playing the Titans. I'll never forget. He goes to the in the first quarter, I think he goes to the hospital in an ambulance, and he comes back in the fourth quarter. I said, you're the only guy ever to go off in an ambulance to come back and play in the same day.
Like he's Ric Flair in a pro wrestling match, you know?
Right. The Ravens, I'll never forget one of the best ones too. That year they were rolling, knocking everybody back. They had some beer out the old practice facility in the snow. They were going to have a Ravens Christmas party. Here comes Goose walking around at practice. We're drinking a 6-pack.
Why not? Why not?
Ain't no one going to run on it.
No doubt.
Billick, you know, was great. You know, just letting those guys. I mean, obviously Marvin, Rex, and those guys, but I mean those guys on that defense, and it started with Goose. I mean, Goose was the one, technique and everything, and you know, kept that money clean, let Ray make all them passes.
No doubt. I mean, as we know, right? I mean, Ray, once he was gone, Ray was like, "You guys better go get me Haloti Ngata. Like, you guys better go get me that dude." And not to say that Tony Siragusa made Ray Lewis. Like, Ray Lewis is an iconic, but he made him different. I think, like, he allowed him to become the superstar.
Ray was great at everything, but you know, just sort of like you know, they would. Goose would always say, it's like batting practice. You know, everyone's going to go yard and back. If we keep the guys off Ray, he'll knock Eddie George out every time. Exactly right. God. And, you know, and the best thing, too, for as much of a larger-than-life personality as he was, every time I listened to somebody tell me about, but he cared about his family more than anything in the world. He loved us. He took care of us as teammates. It's staggering to me. Like, there's a very Santa Claus-like mentality that we're talking about when it comes to Goose. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're playing. I'll never forget. He's having conversations with everybody loves Goose. I mean, you know, it's just because he, you know, sometimes, you know, the guys playing NFL, they maybe ego or something, but never Goose. You know, Goose always. And I loved him on the sideline. And just, it's a shock. But I tell you, I mean, we all should strive to live life like Goose. It's tough. It's tough because I know what you're referencing, Kelly. Dude, he's 55 is way too young, but Jesus Christ, did he pack about 150 years into 55, man? Like, definitely.
About 3 lives worth of human into the one life that was cut short, and that sucks so much.
That's right.
Dude, I could do this for an hour with you, bro. I could just sit back and listen to you tell stories. I know. Are you still doing the radio thing out in Oklahoma?
I'm still doing the radio. Yeah, my wife says I got to do something to get out of the house. Yeah, no, you bet. I'm so thankful. And again, I wake up every day, and I owe most of my, Goose and Rex help me out the most.
Man. Well, you know how it is back here. Anytime you're here, you know how beloved you are. You know that there's never going to be a night where anybody's going to think you should have to pay for a meal in this town, my friend. You know that's the case.
I couldn't thank Baltimore enough. The organization and the people. I mean, it's a storybook career, and again, playing with one of the best guys ever in Goose. I mean, I tell you, I got to pinch myself sometimes.
Man, Kelly Gregg, truly love you, my friend. Thank you as always.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Appreciate you, dude. We'll talk soon, all right?
You bet. Thank you guys so much.
Man. God, I love Kelly Gregg. And very much in, the impact that Tony had on Kelly Gregg and his life and his career. I mean, so easy to identify that, so easy to see. And who Kelly became and carving out his own. I mean, Kelly Gregg, as he says, storybook, it makes no sense. It makes no sense that a nose tackle, who when he arrived was undersized, as he points out, he was 270, and he never became a giant, carved out a 10-year career in one town where he became a beloved figure and fans literally wore his jerseys. It makes no sense. Try explaining that. But it happened because of Tony Siragusa. Because in the infancy of this franchise, we fell in love with a defensive tackle who had a larger-than-life personality. And Kelly's got a great personality. He ain't Tony. Nobody ever will be. But he's got a great personality. And yes, the Buddy Lee thing helped. It helped. He looked like a guy that was on all the commercials, and we couldn't help but notice it. And you could see the impact that Tony Siragusa had on Kelly Gregg. I was getting emotional listening to Kelly talk about Tony. I was getting emotional. Like, this dude. This dude. I'm gonna end up writing about Tony for Press Box come Monday, and I think I know where I'm going with it. And I'll wait. Obviously, on Monday I like to give away my column. It's what I do on the show. You don't have to read the column because I'm just gonna give it away. But I'm writing about Tony on Monday for PressBoxOnline.com. I greatly appreciate Kelly Gregg taking the time and truly could listen to him talk about Tony Siragusa forever. Man, that is good stuff. That is really, really good stuff. All right. Getting more responses. Our think tank question today is about Austin Hayes. How do we talk to our kids about Austin Hayes? What exactly is Austin Hayes? What is he? That's what I want to know. Brian says, I need to see more. He spent a lot of time injured, and this is his first healthy season that I can remember. Not sure of his age. But Brian, there's a Google, right? Like, if you can access Twitter, I promise you can access Google. Austin Hayes is 26. I would see what happens for the next few weeks, and if someone throws a stupid offer at you, then you take it. Why are we talking about trading Austin Hayes? What is going on here?
I guess people expect a huge haul for him.
Are we just so used to the Orioles dealing everybody at the deadline that's when we have a conversation about any player, that's what we're talking about? Is there some, permeating thing about trading Austin Hayes that I'm unaware of? Some multiple people that have gotten in this morning and talked about trading Austin Hayes. I'm befuddled by that. Again, with the caveat being, if somebody wants to offer you everything they've got, sure. But as the Orioles go from rebuild to what we expect to be some sort of competition, contention maybe, in the next year or two. Remembering they are a over 500 team since Adley Rutschman was called up. I'm confused, to say the least, about a conversation about trading? Playoffs? I don't know what to say. Matt, as we've been talking about, he reminds me of Markakis in that he's just a rock-solid baseball player. Could hold a corner outfield spot and bat in the top half of the lineup for the next 8 years of healthy. That's my barometer. Do we think Austin Hayes can be not exactly Nick Markakis, but some sort of comparable to Nick Markakis within what the Orioles do for the next few years? It's obvious to make a parallel between what Cedric Mullins did a year ago and Adam Jones. Of course, what Cedric Mullins did a year ago is even better than Adam Jones. We just didn't think it was practical to assume that he could do that every year. And so far, we've been right. Although, it's who knows? He might be that guy. That to me is the barometer, right? That's the question that I'm trying to answer. Is, am I convinced that Austin Hayes can hold down a significant spot and play at a high level, a Nick Markakis-like level, for the span of about 6 years?
Yeah, and I think Jack on Facebook says similar things, same what you're thinking, comparing him to Nick. Nick was a corner outfielder without power. He was a nice role player, but hard to invest big money in him.
Well,
I feel like that's the question.
I think the point is that you're not. There's no world in which you believe that Austin Hayes is costing you $20+ million a year. Once upon a time, you got Nick Markakis for $660, $666, somewhere in that range. He did a 6-year deal for a little bit more than $10 million a year. I get it. The way the contracts have changed, that wouldn't. If you think that Austin Hayes is Nick Markakis-esque, then those numbers would move.
Yeah, 6 years, 66.
66. That's what I thought it was. So it was $11 million a year for Nick Markakis. But again, I get it. Inflation, whatever. I don't even like using the word inflation right now. But if you're saying that we think he's a Nick Markakis-esque player, it's going to cost more than $11 million. But I don't think it's going to cost you. I don't think that balloons all the way to 6/120. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is what his value would be.
I mean, Markakis essentially got a 10 years, $11 million a year, because he got 4 years for 44 right after it from
in
the
Atlanta.
Braves,
Understood. But there was some concerns about his neck, as you remember at that point. There was.
But he got the same, basically. I mean, the same.
Right. But the thought would be that he played well enough in Baltimore that maybe at that point, 6 years later, he was worthy of more money.
Right.
It was tough for him to get more money because of the injury. Remember, that was the reason why the Orioles didn't bring it back. Not that we are, Anyway, I'll move on from that. In his Orioles career, Nick Markakis hit .290 for 9 seasons. That's tough to do over a 9-year span. To hit .290, got on base at a .358 clip, which isn't overwhelming, but good. Can Austin Hayes be that for 7 years with what we think is even better defending? Can he be, I mean, again, maybe not that, but something close to that? Can he be right now he's a .287 hitter. A year ago, obviously, he would hit
345 on base this season.
I'm worried. This goes back to using the term heater. I'm worried that those numbers reflect and just an incredible stretch, an unbelievable stretch for Austin Hayes, and that specifically it's going to be hard to get to those numbers. But because of his range, what he can cover, if he can stay healthy and having that insane arm, he can make a Nick Markakis-esque impact even if he's not hitting .290 for the totality of his Orioles career.
Could we compare him to like Kevin Kiermaier almost? Like Kiermaier doesn't hit very well, but his defensively, Kiermaier's just.
It's a fair comparison, but is Kevin Kiermaier someone that you have to have? Kevin Kiermaier comes off as kind of a luxury for a team,
right,
versus a piece that you need
to build around.
You
don't want to
right?
build around him.
And build around is tough because, again, I'm not saying he's the singular piece that you're building around. It's identifying like 5 players that you think can be the core of your next era of contention. And we all believe Adley Rutschman is one of those guys. And we think Ryan Mountcastle could be one of those guys. And we're trying to figure out who the other ones are, because the likelihood is some still aren't here yet, right? Like Gunnar Henderson, who Baseball Prospectus said this week was the best player left in the minor leagues.
That's fun to hear.
I mean, it's a little over the top, but Jared Seidler wrote a really interesting piece about it, and it's worth the read. We think it's possible that Gunnar Henderson is that guy. He's just not here yet, and he's still extraordinarily young. Maybe Cedric Mullins, maybe. I don't know that still, but maybe Cedric Mullins is one of those guys, and we're trying to figure out, it feels like in the neighborhood of 5. Think about the stretch, and I get it, some of these guys weren't here for the totality. Like Manny didn't arrive until late in the 2012 season. Nick Markakis disappeared after 2014. But in creating that mix that allowed the Orioles to become competitive in the teens, Manny, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis, J.J. Hardy, who was, it's not fair because that was a free agent acquisition. So that maybe scratch J.J. Hardy. Manny, Adam Jones was acquired in a trade, but he truly, he came up as he barely had played in Seattle. I don't count Adam Jones' time in Seattle. Manny, Adam Jones, Nick Markakis. Then throw in Matt Wieters. We got to be realistic about that. Chris Davis, another trade acquisition, but again, someone who had played only sparingly in Texas at that point. You had to identify that core that was going to be the central part of your ability to move into that next phase. The Orioles paid Adam Jones and Nick Markakis. They also paid Brian Roberts, and Brian Roberts somehow counts in this conversation. It's just difficult to figure it out because his timeline doesn't line up perfectly with this. But identifying central parts of this, committing at least something to saying, hey, you're not the singular centerpiece of whether this works, that at the moment is Adley Rutschman. But you're part of it in some form or fashion, and we're identifying that and kind of anointing you as being that guy that we're counting on for the next 5-6 years in order to help make this work. That's why I think the Nick Markakis comparison is the one that I keep coming back to. I keep coming back to, can Austin Hayes, not directly, it's a different version of Nick Markakis, but it's the closest thing I can compare him to as far as what he can offer as a corner outfielder.
Would you sign him to a 6-year deal?
That's the question that we're, that's what we're, that's the how do we talk to our kids about it, right? Like I said yesterday, I'd probably want to wait at least through the end of this year. And maybe into next season. And I get it, when you say that, you're allowing him, if you get midway through next year, to be within a year and a half of free agency. And so now all of a sudden, there's less time for him to be enticed by buying out the arbitration years, and more, hey, I'm getting pretty close. If I can just ride this thing out, I can negotiate with all the teams instead of negotiating with one team. It's the reason why you typically want to get ahead on these things. And I'm saying I feel an amount of trepidation still about, I love what I'm seeing from Austin Hayes. It's incredible. But am I certain of it? I'm not certain. I'm not sure. I have a good feeling, but I'm not sure. I'd rather get a little more evidence before I make that type of commitment. Now, would it be exciting for for fans if tomorrow the Orioles held a press conference and announced a 6-year deal for Austin Hayes? It'd be unbelievable. And as I said about Adley, there's an amount of value that comes with that goes beyond whether or not it's, black or white, the right way to go about handling your business. There's something there that's so exciting. There's something there that does so much for your fans that alone might make it worth it. I would certainly not be bothered if that was what we were talking. If on Monday's show we were reacting to the Orioles announcing an extension for Austin Hayes, there would be no part of me that would walk in and say, boy, I don't know about this one. I'd say, giddy up. Let's go. All in. I'm excited. Let's do it. But if you're asking me if I was Mike Elias, how I'd want to go about doing my business, I still think I'd want a bit more evidence. And part of it is knowing how he's been scouted. That he was not scouted as a surefire, cannot miss type of bat. Guy who had a hit tool, but no certainty that came along with that. Let's make sure this isn't just an absurd heater that he's on, and that this is something that can extend for a little bit longer. That's the way that I would go about handling my business. But it ain't my money. They want to pay it. Let's do it. Let's go. I am all for projecting to this fan base, hey, we are announcing to you, these are your guys. Get excited. Buy some jerseys. We're committing. This is the group. You're going to be watching these guys play at Camden Yards for at least the next 5 to 6 years. Let's go. Come on. I'm all for that. I think that would be electric for this fan base to be able to feel those things. All right. Today's show, and hour number 1 of today's show, which is winding down, has been brought to you by, this one's brought to you by Glory Days Grill, where they are trying to give you a backyard barbecue for you and your friends right now. All you got to do is go to glorydaysgrill.com, register. No purchase is necessary. Now, I encourage you to make a purchase because there's nothing better than Glory Burgers and Glory Ribs and Glory Wings, and there's glory for everyone at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. But no purchase is necessary in order for you to enjoy all the delicious food at Glory Days Grill. And, well, I guess purchase, never mind. Sorry, strike that. If you want to enjoy that delicious food, you do have to buy it. But you can enjoy the backyard barbecue that you can register to win, which would involve delicious Glory Days Grill food. Maybe I was right the first time. By registering at glorydaysgrill.com, they are giving away a backyard barbecue for you and your friends. If you win, you had better invite your pal. Here I am slaving away over a hot microphone. You better say, hey, GC, big winner. Why don't you come hang out with me? We're going to have tons of Glory Days food. Yeah, okay. I'll arrange this schedule in order to make that happen. Again, glorydaysgrill.com for you to get signed up. Tony, I don't really have much of anything to say about the NBA draft. It did not, for those of you that saw my advice.
A Duke player went 1.
You didn't win any money if you bet the way that I suggested you should bet. Sorry, just the way that it goes. The complaints seemed to be last night, but they've always been about the NBA draft. It's what makes it like in comparison to in the NFL, you announce the trade so that when you announce a player, you know that player is going to play for the right team. How the NBA has never figured this out is befuddling. I'll never in my life understand a made-for-TV event that's not made for TV. What in the world? This could just be an email if that's what you want. You could do it in a Discord chat, the way that some people do fantasy football drafts. My God. You're doing a television program. Make good television. Let the fans of a team know who's going to be playing for their team. And I get that some of these NBA trades are so bloody complicated. It's part of the problem. I kept watching last night and being like, so are the Knicks getting anything? Like, what are they doing? Did they get anything to just give up all these picks? It's part of the issue.
I was happy to watch the Orioles last night instead of the NBA draft.
I've not, I've never been an NBA draft because we don't have a team, right?
Yeah.
Like there were some years when I was in Phoenix with the Suns, like if they had a higher pick, I guess I was a little bit more interested, but
yeah, I mean, if there's a Maryland guy that's gonna go,
but sure, but we don't have a team. Yeah, I was very excited when Jalen Smith went to the Suns. I mean, it was like the most exciting. Oh yeah, that lasted for not even 2 years.
We can be Hawks fans basically.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Kevin Huerter's there. I'm just not as into the NBA draft because I don't have a team. I'm not getting a new toy. I say I don't have a team. I personally have a team. I do. The Suns didn't make a pick, so there was no reason to be interested in it. I also understand that the thing that I'm into, most of this community isn't into, so I'm not going to be talking about it the next day on the show.
I consider myself a Wizards fan, so I was very happy to see Johnny Davis.
I like Johnny Davis.
I thought that was a great pick.
I don't know what that's going to be, but I like Johnny Davis as a player.
Wizards are.
They can use just about anything.
Yeah.
I get it though. The complaints about the quality of the television show and how confusing it is. I understand that. It is a confusing television program that they produce every year when you're announcing a draft pick, but you have no idea who that draft pick is actually going to play for. That's not good TV. We come back in. Speaking of the draft, the MLB draft is coming up. We do an MLB draft segment every week. This week, Keith Law from The Athletic is going to join us. That's next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le
champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows that the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard. The latest edition of PressBox is available now, and it's our very first Salute to Coaches issue. On the cover, we recognize Ravens coach John Harbaugh ahead of his 15th season. Also inside, find tributes to Navy football coach Ken Niumatalolo, UMBC soccer coach Pete Caringi, Maryland soccer coach Sasho Sorovsky, and field hockey coach Missy Maharg, Mount St. Joe basketball coach Pat Clatchy, and Poly basketball coach Kendall Peace. We also honor recently retired Johns Hopkins lacrosse coach Janine Tucker and Calvert Hall baseball coach Lou Eckerl, the athletes whose lives these coaches have impacted, offering insights on what makes them special and why they've stood the test of time. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
To follow the show on Instagram, it's just Glenn Clark Radio. And to follow the show on OnlyFans, Wait, I don't think you're supposed to know about that one. Any hoodle. Take it away, boys.
All right, back in here on GCR into hour number 2 of the program. Stan the Fan is going to stop by at some point this hour. Orioles continue their series with the White Sox tonight. Austin Voth on the mound against Michael Kopech. Orioles, again, coming off a really nice win last night, and we'll continue to talk about Austin Hayes throughout the morning. But right now, let's talk a little MLB draft. We talk draft at least once a week here on GCR leading up to All-Star Weekend. He's got a new mock draft this week, and he has changed who he has the Orioles taking with the first pick in his most recent mock draft. It's always a pleasure to welcome back to the program from The Athletic. He's Keith Law, and he's with us here on GCR. Keith, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Sure thing.
Drew Jones, has he separated himself significantly from everybody else? Is this he's no matter what the Orioles do, he's definitely the best prospect? Or is it still a little bit closer than maybe it was the last time the Orioles had the number 1 pick and Adley Rutschman seemed to be the consensus guy?
Yeah, I don't agree that Drew Jones is head and shoulders above everybody else in this draft. He's one on my draft board. There are 4 or 5 players who I think you could fully justify taking with the first overall pick. And for the Orioles' general draft approach, from Mike Elias' general draft approach, which is to consider all the candidates in addition to considering what their financial expectations might be, and to find the player that's the best deal, makes a ton of sense in this draft. If you could get one of those other players for $2 million less than Drew Jones and then spend that savings to get better prospects with subsequent picks, you should do that. And it would not surprise me at all if the Orioles did take that strategy.
So it's interesting you say you should do that. That's how close you think these prospects are to each other, that there really is not a $2 million worth difference between Drew Jones and insert name here.
No, there is not. And I think if people are claiming that there is, I would have serious questions, because I don't think this is just my opinion. I think this really reflects pretty broad consensus. I haven't run into anybody in this draft, scout, executive, who thinks that Drew Jones is the Bryce Harper of the draft class, who is just absolutely no doubt the number 1 guy. I know people who have him first on their prep list, but who also argue that there's not that big of a gap between him and insert second name here, Termar Johnson, Jackson Holiday, Elijah Green. I think you can make Cam Collier, who actually is number 2 on my board.
Yeah, I saw.
You can make really good cases for all of those guys. And if the money's the same, I take Drew Jones. If the money's not the same, though, I consider what I can do with the savings, because the Orioles have extra picks and a history of using that savings to get other highly ranked, or at least highly rated in their own opinion, players with those later picks.
Keith, you had the Orioles taking Jacob Berry in your first mock draft this year. Why did you change to Drew Jones? I think one of the things that we've talked about a lot is, hey, Mike Elias has done one thing in every draft since he's been in Baltimore. He's taken a college bat, right? And so it kind of made sense to some of us when we saw Jacob Berry's name being thrown around, or even Brooks Lee's name being thrown around, because, hey, this is what he does. Why did you make the switch from Berry to Jones this time around?
So I say in the mock, no one is going to know who the Orioles are taking until about 5 minutes before the pick. Mike Elias, Sig, maybe the scouting director, maybe. That's it. Those are the only people who are going to know who they're taking. This has been Elias's philosophy on the first pick, going back to when he was not even the scouting director yet, but was actually running the draft 10 years ago in Houston with Carlos Correa. Nobody knew. The folks, I know people who were in that draft room, and they said about 5-10 minutes before the first pick, Elias and Jeff Luhnow came back into the room and said, here's who we're taking. And that was the first anyone else had heard of it. So all we're doing with these mocks, and I speak for myself, I think I can speak for the other guys who do this, is
guessing.
We're making educated guesses. Now, I will tell you this. I believe the Orioles rank Jacob Berry very highly, far higher than I do, because he has no position. That is a DH.
Yep.
However, I also have heard not directly from Jacob Berry's advisor, but folks who talk to him, he doesn't think he's going first. I will also say Brooks Lee's advisor doesn't think Brooks Lee is going first. They think both those players are going a little bit later. And that's not great information. It's very secondhand. But I thought that was enough of a reason to say, hey, let's explore another scenario with a player we know is in the Orioles mix. Obviously, they've scouted Drew Jones. They're not ignoring him. I think they're just considering all the options.
He is Keith Law from The Athletic. He's with us here on GCR. We're going to link up his most recent mock draft from The Athletic on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio, for you to check it out. Keith, what is Drew Jones? Like, I mean, is he Ken Griffey? What is he specifically as a prospect?
He's definitely not Ken Griffey. I think the hope is he's his dad, but his dad was obviously his dad by virtue of being born outside the United States, signing as an international free agent when he was 16. His dad was in the majors at 19. Drew Jones is not going to be. And Drew Jones' level of experience is much less than his father's was, and that doesn't mean Drew can't end up a star, but he's definitely on a different path. He has pretty good power. He can really play center. He does look a lot like his dad playing center. I've seen it. It's funny. It's sort of like, oh, where have I seen that before? Oh, yeah, his father. That's exactly like his father. And Drew can really run. There are questions about where the hit tool is. It's not to say he can't hit, but nobody is walking away like they are with Termarr Johnson, another Georgia high school player, where everyone says, that kid can hit. That's the best hit tool in the whole draft. I know plenty of people who've seen Drew Jones more than I have. I've only seen him 2 games, but people who've seen him more who say they all like him, but we're not sure how advanced the hit tool is right now. He might get into pro ball and have some more swing and miss and just need more development time. Nobody thinks he stinks, just to be absolutely clear. But it is that, hey, if we're going to talk about you as a no doubt 1-1 guy, Griffey, Harper, A-Rod, guy like that, you should hit. There should be no question about your hit tool. And with Drew Jones, it's, his hit tool might be kind of below average right now, and it's just going to take time for him to get there. And to me, that is the big thing that brings him back into this group of just the high school guys. And I put Collier in that group because he's 17 as a JUCO guy. That cluster of guys where each one has strengths and weaknesses. And you're getting into, I think, a pretty interesting debate about the relative merits of those guys. And would you bet on the upside of a Drew Jones or an Elijah Green with the questions about where their hit tool are? Or do you take the relative safety of a guy like Termarr Johnson, where everyone believes he's going to hit, but he probably has less overall upside because he doesn't have the size or the huge power or the defensive value?
Keith, you, I think, are a little bit more than folks that I have talked to, and admittedly, I'm just talking to. I'm not saying scouts because I'm not giving any information away that I've gotten from them. From other guys that do what you do, and you know who those guys are. You're more bullish than others about Cameron Collier, and it seems like you're not quite as high on Jackson Holliday as some other people are who think he's the consensus top 2 type of guy. And I know you do have him going number 2 in your mock draft. What is it that you like so much about Cam Collier, and maybe why are you not quite as high on Jackson Holliday as some other people are?
With Collier, I mean, honestly, I don't know what other people want to see. This is a 17-year-old so he's basically a high school junior who went to the best junior college program in the entire country, Chipola College in Northwest Florida, and performed extremely well. This guy's facing pitching almost exclusively 2 to 3 years older than he is, and he performed. He showed power, he hit for average, he showed good plate discipline, and he played very well at third base also. He's got a cannon of an arm. There's some questions. He's going to be a big kid. Does he end up outgrowing the infield? I don't think so. I'm not terribly worried about that. But I really think he's going to hit the trifecta, hit, get on base, and show some power. And he's gone up to the Cape and played a couple games up there and looked very good, once again, facing much older competition. Went out to the Combine. All he did out there was take BP. But it was a good BP because he can do that. So, my question to anyone wondering is why anyone who says he's not a top 5 or top 10 pick is, what more are you looking for? This guy did everything we asked for. He's doing it at a younger age, facing much older and better competition than any of these high school kids has faced. Jones, Johnson, Holliday, Green, none of them are facing this level of competition, and he's performing. So if he's got tools, he's got youth on his side, and he's got production, what more are we asking of a player? There's nothing more he could have done to boost his stock. And I do know plenty of scouts who agree. They don't all necessarily think he's 2 in the country, but who think he's worthy of a top 5 pick. And I know teams in the teams that are just praying that I'm wrong,
right,
that he slides to them. I don't think so. Collier's floor is probably 7 or 8. And there's a lot of buzz that he's going to go 4 to the Pirates, which would make sense. He's kind of their sort of player, and they would value his youth particularly highly in the way that they draft. So I think it makes sense that he would go there. If he goes higher, it would surprise me. I have written this before, though. The fact that he's 17 and has production, I know the Orioles R&D is going to rank him extremely high. What I don't know is, what do the rest of them think? What does Mike Elias think? What does Sig think? What do their scouts actually think about Collier? I just know that the model's going to love him.
Okay. And, I mean, he's someone, admittedly, I have not spent nearly enough time with. And I'm, after this conversation, going to have to go do some more homework on and make some more calls about. Do you think that he'd be worthy of the number 1 pick? Do you think that it's really something that the Orioles could do?
If I'm right that his next spot is 4, it's a lot like what the Pirates did. Pirates have to coincidentally pick 4 last year with Henry Davis, where they knew Davis wasn't going to go 2 or 3 or maybe even 4. So they were able to shave $3 million off slot to get Davis, who I thought was the first or second best player in the draft. Pick your poison, him or Marcelo May. Loved Henry Davis, and he's looked great so far. But they ended up with 2 more guys who were first-round caliber, Anthony Solometo and Bubba Chandler, with the savings, and went over slot on a couple other guys after that, too. The Orioles could do that. They could walk home with just a basket full of high-ceiling guys if they were able to do. If they took Collier, gave him basically slot for pick 3 or 4, they're going to leave this draft with 2 more guys who are first-round caliber and a couple of other over-slot guys. And that's a huge win, especially if one of my criticisms of the Orioles farm system is there's really still not very much pitching.
Sure.
They've done a nice job of rebuilding this.
Yep.
It's very skewed towards position players. Well, this would be one way to go get a bunch of pitching in a draft where there's no pitcher worth taking at the first pick. There's just nobody even close.
Yep.
But they can definitely take that money and go get a couple of pitchers at, they have the 2 comp picks plus their regular second round and regular third rounder. They can have a field day. And if they decide that that's the best strategy, maybe they don't do it with Collier, maybe they do it with Termarr Johnson. But to me, it would feel like a very Mike Elias thing to do, and I could 100% justify it given their system's needs and the talent that exists in this draft for picks like 30 to 70, which is, or 75, right? All their other picks are in that range. They could really clean up, and I would really like to see it because I think it would be exactly what this organization needs.
I want to talk. You've got in your rankings, you have Kumar Rocker ranked as now number 34 again, and I know that we've seen him pitch and he's looked good. The Orioles are picking right in that area at 33, and I don't know if he's a guy that you can. I have no idea what the money reality is for Kumar Rocker at this point and what it would take to sign him, but. Is this what we're talking about, that like doing something like this could make that a possibility?
I don't think there's any chance that they take him.
Okay.
Given Michael Elias took Brady Aiken.
Yep.
Right? And that was, and honestly, I don't think anything, Mike did not have gray hair when I first met him, but I think that summer probably put more gray hairs on his head than anything else. I don't think he's taking a guy with a
injury risk. All right.
And to be clear, we don't know. There's been no public reporting on what the Mets saw that caused them to completely walk away. They didn't make Kumar Rocker a lower offer after the post-draft physical. They flat out walked away. So the Orioles aren't doing that. They could take a Tommy John guy. That wouldn't surprise me. If there's a Tommy John guy where they look at the medical before the draft and say, yep, we're comfortable with this. This is a typical rehab. I would not be surprised at all if they did that. And there's a bunch of those guys. I think 8 guys on my top 100 are returning in some fashion from Tommy John. Don't be surprised if the Orioles ended up with one of them.
Okay. And you don't see Rocker falling that far anyway. You got him ranked at 34, but you have him going before that in the draft, correct?
There are about 3 teams I think could do it in the first round.
Yeah.
Again, depending on the medical. It's possible everyone sees the medical
says no.
We're not touching.
Yeah, I get it.
But the one way for Scott, Rocker has Scott Boras. Rocker was supposed to get $5 or $6 million last year. The one way for Rocker to come out of this feeling more or less like he won, or for Boras to feel like he won, would be for a team to take Rocker and fast track him to the big leagues as a reliever this year, which I think he could do. I think he could pitch in the majors. It would have to be some team that says, I don't care if he blows out in 4 years. We're going to just get him to the majors now and get value immediately. And again, that's not the Orioles. It wouldn't make sense strategically for them to take that player.
All right, Keith Law, last one for you. Let me go back to Barry and Brooks Lee. Time-wise, you talk about Collier being a little bit younger. And in fairness, Bobby Witt and Adley Rutschman got to the major leagues at essentially the same time, right? Witt actually got there quicker, but that's only because Rutschman was hurt.
Yeah, and pandemic, too.
Right. Does timeline matter here with the Orioles transitioning into the period in which we believe they're going to at least attempt to contend a bit more? Like, do they have to think about that at all as they make this pick of a player that maybe fits with the timeline where they have Adley Rutschman at the major leagues? Does that need to be at all a thought in what they do at 1-1?
I would not use that. It's not an unreasonable question, but I would not use that to force a college player up there. If there were a college pitcher sitting there who was worth taking at 1-1, I might consider that. Say, our system needs pitching. We're going to need pitching on the major league roster fairly soon. We're going to have to – I mean, the Orioles are in a position where they're just going to have to go buy some pitching, right? Even if Grayson comes back completely healthy and DL Hall, who I love, he stays healthy, okay, great. That's 2/5 of a rotation. You're going to have to go buy some pitching. That guy just doesn't exist in this draft. They're all hurt. And so in that case, you're saying, do we take a college player, college prospect, who is inferior to these high school guys because his timeline matches up, or do we just take the best player available, considering the money factor, and then maybe later on pop a college player or two with some of those extra picks?
Okay.
It does look like he could move quickly. And I think that's what you do, because this draft is it's the weirdest draft I've ever covered, and maybe the worst if we're talking about the first round, because there's just no pitching. I've seen fewer college pitchers myself this spring than any year since I've been doing this, because they're all hurt. And so I'm not going to get on a plane to go watch a guy throw 2 innings or chase a reliever for the weekend. I've just spent my time going to see hitters instead.
I mean, it's weird because it's the thing we need more than anything in Baltimore. You're 100% right in what you say about this. And look, we're hoping that Tyler Wells is becoming a guy and Dean Kramer's had a couple of nice starts. But the reality is you're going to go into next season in Baltimore talking about wanting to move in contention without being able to have significant confidence about anything within your own organization as far as pitching is concerned. It's a tough spot to be in, and yet there's no obvious help that is there to be had, which is very difficult.
I guess the one thing you could argue, I'm playing devil's advocate for myself.
Yeah.
But if you took a Brooks Lee, we haven't even discussed Kevin Parada because he's a catcher at Georgia Tech. No one thinks they're taking him.
Right.
If in some scenario they did, though, I can tell you Kevin Parada is going to have a lot of trade value this winter. Right? Everyone loves him. Everyone believes.
So you could use that to get your pitching.
You just do that. I don't think they're going to do that. Now you and I are just spitballing.
Right.
But the idea is get the most value into the system you can any which way. And if you end up with surplus, you trade from it. Gunnar Henderson's probably made a couple other prospects in that system superfluous now.
It's fair.
That's great.
Yeah.
Maybe you trade
Jordan Westburg. Yeah.
But maybe you trade him now to go get the pitching.
I'd
be fine with that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give up value to get the pitching you need. And because a couple of other guys, Henderson's the biggest step forward in the system. And I think, he's probably a top 25 prospect in baseball now. Maybe that opens you up to make some other trades. And that's great. That's a great outcome. And approach this year's draft with the same idea. We're just going to get the best players we can. We will sort it out later.
Solve that problem down the line. At Keith Law on Twitter is how you follow him. Of course, The Athletic, where you see his mocks, his rankings. And can we plug your podcast?
Yeah, you can. It's just called The Keith Law Show. That makes it kind of easy to find. I had Sarah Langs of MLB on this week. We talked about a couple of the more interesting rookies in baseball, looking from an on-field perspective, but also looking at some of the StatCast data. And some weeks it's baseball, some weeks it's literature, some weeks it's food. It's a little of everything. It's just tailored to my own very eccentric set of interests.
Love it. Keith Law, always appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for doing this. Let's talk again soon, all right?
Yep, my pleasure.
Keith Law checking in with us here for our MLB draft segment this week. Cam Collier, guy he's very, very high on, says that could be what the Orioles would do with the number 1 pick, save $3 million and get yourself some pitching later on in this draft because you still need it. Stan the Fan Charles has joined us in studio. Stan, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
I know it's been a tough week. Appreciate I know you've been working hard. You've been doing, my God, amount of shows that we've been forcing you to. Who's the program director around here that's been forcing you to do this many shows this week?
A real taskmaster.
That guy's a jerk.
Now,
Whoever that guy is.
You guys heard the news about Roe versus
Wade?
Yeah.
Not. I got a lot of thoughts. I'm gonna not use them here.
Yep.
I got a lot of things
Just
that
wanted
I
to know if you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
I unfortunately
Driving around.
caught that news this morning.
Now,
and
who's this guy? Collier?
Cam Collier is Keith Law's second overall prospect.
Really?
In his ranking of prospects.
And what position does
He's a third baseman.
Okay.
He's 17 years old. He left high school after his sophomore season to play junior college at a place called Chipola College. And
Chipotle has a college?
Yes, correct. I mean, by the way.
My God, I would like to study there.
Their culinary program. Oddly terrible. I like Chipotle. So Cam Collier is someone who says, look, I don't know what it is that you want to see. He's 17 years old, and yet he's insanely productive at a junior college level.
Right.
He checks all the boxes. He's got a 70 arm. He's going to be a legitimate third baseman. What more do you want?
How big is he?
6'2".
6'2".
And as he points out, at 17, he could still potentially grow a little bit from here. So he's not like he still had in his mock draft the Orioles taking Drew Jones.
Right.
But he is not remotely
Dismissing.
convinced, and he's not convinced that it's going to be Drew Jones. He's just sort of falling on the idea of, look, he's the number 1 ranked guy.
Right.
I'm going to have him take them. But in fact, what he said was the smart thing to do
would be to take this
to save money. He's going the opposite way. Some people say, hey, don't get cute, just take the best player. He's saying the opposite. He's saying the smart thing to do, get cute. Save some money at the top. The difference between these prospects is not worth $2 million. These are guys that are Drew Jones is not head and shoulders above.
And do they know Collier wants to come out?
I mean, that's the thought.
Okay.
The thought is he's going to be
not transferring to Texas.
Right.
He's committed to Louisville, but
yes.
he's expected to be a top 5 pick.
Exactly right.
He could pull a Lamar Jackson then if he's committed to Louisville. He wants to have a conversation about the contract.
Stan, we are talking this morning.
Yes.
Our think tank topic that we put out for everybody. How do we talk to our kids about Austin Hayes? And when I say that, it's a trope that I use on this show. Big picture, how do we? Because what we're watching right now is incredible. I mean, it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
He hit for the cycle the other night.
He owes it all to me.
Because you have him?
I had him.
Oh, you got rid of him.
I got rid of him. So I'd love to go back to the date that I made the trade.
Yeah.
I frankly had Austin Hayes for like 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
Injury.
Yep.
A lot of strikeouts, a lot of swing and miss, just, and then an injury and not a lot of production. I traded him roughly about July 10th last year.
Boy, you set him free. You really did.
Absolutely astounding since I traded.
You absolutely set him free to become the beautiful butterfly that he's become.
As much as I enjoy watching him,
it's
painful.
I get it.
It's painful
I get
every
it.
night.
So my question is really, how does he fit in this conversation? And the responses are all over the place. Right. From people that say, you need to extend him now, he's a star, to people who say, all right, let's see this play out for another year before we commit to the idea of him being a central figure in the next 5 to 6 years. To legitimately stand, I've had multiple people who say the Orioles should still be trying to look to trade him.
No.
Which is insane to me, and I don't know where that's coming from.
They're past the point. I would say the Mancini, Santander, and Mullins are 3 people that, would not shock me if 2 of them got traded this year. But Hayes, Mountcastle, and everyone moving forward from there is, I'm not saying they're untouchable, but I am not actively seeking to start trading them.
And
that starts to be a good nucleus. I don't think they do anything with Hayes in an extension until they settle on what they're doing with Santander, Mullins. It would really be a bad look to, like, next week announce that Austin Hayes is getting a 5-year contract. and Mancini's going,
Right,
what the,
yeah,
what the
yeah,
hell,
right.
you know, what the hell do I do? I'm chopped liver.
I
You
get
know,
that.
I think it's a bad look. After he gets dealt during this offseason, would not surprise me if they do try and extend
And again,
him.
some of the arguments that are made, the tricky part about that is the further you get with Austin Hayes, the closer he is to free agency, and the less likely he is to do a super team-friendly deal because he says, hey, look, if I just wait this thing out for another year and a half, I can negotiate with everybody instead of negotiating with you.
He also, I sat, ironically, at a game. My cousin was at the game, and we met behind home plate upstairs right in front of the press box. And not in front of this press box.
Right,
in front of the press box.
Orioles press box, yes.
It's funny.
We don't really know
get
where
to
this press box is
Right,
anymore because
it's funny how they get to call that the press box.
Yeah, it's they ripped it off.
they
Yeah,
ripped
right.
it
What's
off
wrong with
of us.
them?
So anyway, we're sitting there. It turns out we're sitting next to Austin Hayes' wife.
Oh, okay.
And 2 kids,
Mhm.
beautiful kids. You know, you start talking 60, 70, 80 million, you know, 60, 70 million dollars. He's got 2 kids.
Mhm.
I don't know that Austin, with his past
Injury,
and look,
yep.
there's a lot of players that get hurt a lot when they're young that just suddenly sort of outgrow the fetish almost of running into walls,
Sure.
sliding funny. Although that play he made last
It was
night-
unbelievable. Just
and That's a
unbelievable.
play you easily can wrench a shoulder or something like that. I'm still trying to figure out what happened to Josh Harrison last night.
Oh my God, that was the
That
weirdest
the
thing I've ever
weirdest
seen.
thing. It looked
was
like
so,
first you
right.
thought it hit him on his number.
Yeah.
And then you go, no, it got past his number.
Right.
And then he's shaking his
The-
right
the
hand.
back arm, yeah,
so
100%.
It hit him like in his trapezius
I
or something.
I guess I didn't go back and watch
or
it. man.
shoulder blade or something like that.
I did not.
It was like a stinger effect it must have had.
100%. I mean,
So anyway, Austin Hayes, I don't see him sitting there thinking, "Hey, I'm a $400 million,
Oh, no,
$250 million
nothing
player."
like that.
If he could get a good 5-year deal that set him up basically for life, you know.
I think the question becomes: are you at all trepidatious about the stuff that the injury history, that this is just an absurd 3 months that he's having, and he's really not like I've used the border of, can he be a Nick Markakis-esque figure for this franchise for the next 5 to 6 years?
The confidence level he's playing with right now in all aspects of the game. I mean, this is, again, Cedric Mullins last year had a marvelous season, a historic Orioles season, but yet his throwing arm is such a fly in the ointment.
Yep.
This guy runs like 70, throws it close
Yep.
to 80, and right now his confidence at the plate is in that 70 range too. You know, I don't know if he'll ever hit 340 or 350.
No,
But, you know, he is if that's not a player you want to sort of build around, you know. And how old is Austin now?
It's 26.
Yeah. It's not like he's 29
Nope.
and people go, well, next year he's going to be 30.
Yep.
As if that's like old, you know. That's what they're doing
No,
with
no,
Mancini.
100%.
You know?
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
going to be
yeah, correct.
31 when
That means
his
he's going to
contract-
fall off a cliff.
Right,
Everybody
right,
knows that. That's
right.
what happens when you hit 30.
I just love the confidence level that he's playing with.
I
at all
certainly
times.
love the confidence. I am probably inclined to say you wait. I said 2 different things. I have no problem if on Monday morning I sat down to do the show and the show was being based around the fact they had announced an extension for Austin Hayes. There'd be no part of me that would say, hey, I don't know about this. I would 100% walk in and say, let's go. And I would understand the excitement that it would bring to a fan base. I would understand the electricity of a commitment to somebody being here. You know, go buy the jersey.
Don't underestimate what that meant to those Buck Showalter years.
No
when
question.
When they signed Adam Jones.
100%.
Gave him that 5 year.
Oh, my God. It was...
market, fair market.
It was the first moment. In 2012, I was so convinced that, like, hey, this is going to come back to reality at some point.
Right.
Like, this is exciting and all, but come on.
Yeah, wait for the other shoe to fall.
Like, there's just, this is going to come back to reality. That was the first day that I allowed myself even a thought of, hey, maybe there is something else going on here. And I still don't know that I thought that day that they were going to make the playoffs in 2012 because, again, we all know that was semi-fluky what happened in 2012 with the run differential and all that sort of stuff. But it was the first time that I really believed there was a there with what the Orioles were doing. I was so convinced that Adam Jones would just get up and walk away at the first opportunity and all that, that I said, man, something might be happening here. And
I don't sense that Hayes is going to walk away. And how much longer, I get so confused now, how much longer do they have control of
2 more years after this year.
2
more years after. So my point being, if you're trying to wait a year from now, if you tried to do this at the trade deadline next year,
right,
he might walk in, or whoever his agent is might say, dude, you're a year and a half away.
Yeah.
To being able to negotiate with everybody in baseball,
right,
to being able to find out what one team just happens to have a little extra money and would be willing to give you a little extra money. Let's not rush into anything.
Yeah. I think that's a really interesting point, and I think this off season
right,
is the time to sort of have a feeling out talk with his agent, let them know where they're kind of at, and it gives him the second half of this year for the Orioles to look at him, look him over one last time, sort of type of thing, and also for him to see, are the crowds starting to come back a little bit? Do they extend Brandon Hyde because he likes Brandon? It gives him a time to take stock of what's on the other side, the player's side of things.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with you. The Brandon Hyde conversation is one we're not really having this year because we kind of accepted once we found out, hey, his contract's not up at the end of the year, as if teams don't. That's not the way it works. Like teams fire managers.
How did that even get found out? It was Brandon said something.
No, it was. I want to say like the Sun reported it at the beginning of the year. Somebody.
Yeah, it was reported almost like a normal contract, like a player contract. Like, wasn't it?
Well, it was just reported.
He re-signed almost.
Essentially, just said that this is not the final year on Brandon Hyde's contract. Is the way that it was said, and the understanding being that means there's probably one more that was added on. But that's not the way that this works. You don't ever want your manager managing in the final. We all know this. We know that you purposely do this so that people can't look around and say, well, you're just a lame duck anyway.
Right.
So I don't think it actually means that there's a commitment to Brandon Hyde as much as this is what essentially allows you to govern, if you will.
Right.
You have to have the knowledge that you're not a lame duck in order to be able to get people to listen in.
But don't you have to publicize that a little bit more than one blurb in April? I mean, do you think the players know that he was given one extra year?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean, it seems like it's the type of thing when you really truly extend somebody and you want them to be a part of what's moving forward. It's usually for longer than a year. It's not just so he can govern. It's to stick a stake in the ground and say, this is Brandon Hyde's team,
The only wording was he's under contract beyond 2022.
Okay.
That's all of the wording. And it was in...
And Brandon...
it was in the Sun.
Yeah.
Brandon is so trepidatious about talking about any of this kind of stuff that he views as the purview of the general manager, that, if you ask him about it, he'll go, that's not really
100%.
He'll deflect it rather than say, I've got a 3-year.
But as we talked about when we did the cover story, like he's been practical about this the entire time. He does not know what his long-term future is in Baltimore. He realized very quick, you brought up the comparison to Rick Renteria, and he's like, yeah, I know. I know what I was getting into when I took the job, but at some point is a team that's...
This is that point. They're 500 over...
Since Adley Rutschman arrived, they're a game over 500.
Right, but last night they said they're 500 over their last, they're 23-23 or something over 46 games. That's where, if this dude gets, to me, anywhere between 70 and 75 wins this year...
You think you commit at that point?
I think I commit a couple more. Say, you announce, hey, Brandon's going to be here in 23, and we're tacking on 2 more years.
Do you think this stretch is a reflection of Brandon Hyde?
I think it's a reflection of Mike Elias and Sig and their team, but I certainly think that Brandon is part of that team.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he deserves some credit. I think this team has played hard for him most of the last, since 2019.
I think
there are times when a team that is so overwhelmingly bad in comparison, it's hard for them to get.
Somebody would point out they had 2 very long losing streaks
Right.
a year ago, obviously,
Right.
and like you can't dismiss those things.
No,
you can't
they're
pretend like they didn't
horrible.
happen. But to your point, yes, they weren't good enough. I think the best argument you can make is they still don't really have any pitching, and yet they're doing this.
Yep.
And that would be your argument for Brandon Hyde is he's figuring out a way to get through these games. Now it helps the bullpen has been, my God, just so absurdly outstanding that there was no way to see that coming.
I don't like to pat ourselves on the back. I don't toot our horn that much, but I really think that the combination of Robinson Chirinos, Anthony Bemboom, and this new dude, who's got a really lame mustache, by the way. It really is lame.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's all I can knock him about now.
My God.
Now that he's
Stop it.
Now that he's hit
Stop
these
it. You know what? No.
monster
This guy's the most important athlete, baseball player in Baltimore. Your mustache is beautiful, my friend. Beautiful.
Anyway,
may we all be so lucky to have.
So since those 3 dudes have been in Oriole uniforms, I don't think it's an accident that the pitching has gotten much better. And Palmer, on a nightly basis, Luke and I kid around. He goes, boy, Palmer really has a hard on for Pedro Severino. The dude hasn't been here.
Yeah, he
for
still
6,
talks.
7
Yeah,
months.
right.
But you can't help but reflect on, just how bad the catching was. And when it's bad catching, maybe the game calling was bad.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I can't. You're 100% right about that. I'm still not sure what to make of. We talked earlier in the week, Stan, about how you approach Jorge Lopez at the deadline, and I don't have our buddy Paul Valley, who you're on with every Saturday on the Bat Around, was screaming on Twitter over the weekend about if you're moving into contention and you've got this guy for another couple of years, why are you dealing him? Like, he's been the answer. What are you doing? Whereas the flip side being, you just never know with these bullpen arms if he's a guy that's going to be good for 3 years or a guy that was good for 3 months.
I will say that again, and I've gotten a little ticked off, like at trading Cole Sulser and Tanner Scott for, and it turns out I think they got a fairly interesting pitching prospect. I forget the guy's name there now.
I can't.
Harioka or something like that.
Yeah, something. Yeah, you're right.
I forget, but. I keep going, geez, what are they doing? I like this guy.
Right,
I like Richard Blyer a lot.
100%.
And I'm sure we got
and he was really good.
Useful out of Richard Blyer.
I can't even remember.
Yeah, but Javier Lopez is, do you know if you went to him right now and tossed like $25 million at him for 3 years, he's got to think long and hard about that.
100%.
But by the same token, Glenn, like you say, if you look at fantasy baseball players, good ones, they will pick up a dollar closer here or there to build toward their. They're not investing in Liam Hendricks or Clase and paying big dollars for them when they can get a guy for $1 because the position
this is the volatility,
is so
right?
Volatile.
100%.
So suppose a team comes to you and they know they've got a chance to win the World Series this year.
Look,
Peter
Gammons told me the Red Sox are in love with Jorge Lopez.
Right.
They are enamored with Jorge Lopez.
So if they wanted to give me like a top AAA prospect and a pitcher and a AA prospect for Jorge Lopez, knowing that they've got him, he's affordable, and they could sign him for 5 years,
Yep.
I'd say go for it.
And I think the argument that you would make back is there's so much depth right now at the back end of your bullpen that maybe you already have your next Jorge
Yeah,
Lopez.
Bautista could
right,
be the next
100%. Like maybe that guy is already here.
Yeah.
I know Dylan Tate was a little shaky last night, but Dylan Tate for the most part has been good. You might already have the next Jorge Lopez. I admittedly am struggling with this one because
it's not a black or white thing, but I'll tell you what. Mike Elias is pretty good at
measuring everything. And the thing you
things.
keep coming back to is that Jorge Lopez was found money, right?
Yeah.
Like he was truly found money.
Right. And sometimes it's hard to give up on found money. You know, not give up on them, but to trade it away because you go, geez.
If you're telling me that you can get even one legitimate prospect, 3 months ago, I would have laughed in your face at the idea of that. So I don't know that I could be furious at this point if you manage to turn 3 months of Jorge Lopez into a legitimate player that might help you for years to come.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the best thing to do. Yeah. I don't think it's the easy answer, but I can't dismiss it.
I will tell you this. Elias is a good enough horse trader that he will not trade him for one player, no matter who the prospect
sure, he
is.
wants right.
He'll come up with something like it might be a 17-year-old.
Yeah, give me this other lottery ticket that we like. Right, 100%. Hey, if you missed it on Tuesday, we had Simply the Bets for this week. We do it every Tuesday morning, 11:40 a.m. It's brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Next Thursday, Weekend at Bookies at 11:40 a.m. as well as we get you ready for all of the bets that you are looking to make as you try to win some money in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Stan the Fan is here in studio. I want to take just a minute here because there's an event coming up tomorrow, and for whatever insane reason...
Oh, this is the car wash?
Yeah, I agreed not only to be a part of it, but like an idiot, I purchased a Speedo to help.
Oh, to help wash the cars.
To help for tomorrow's sexy car wash at K&S Automotive. Our buddy Dave from K&S has joined us here this morning on GCR. What in God's name are we doing tomorrow morning, Dave?
Glenn and Stan, how are you?
Great. We're doing great. How are things over at K&S?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. We're getting ready for a car wash party fundraiser tomorrow, 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. at 3939 Falls Road, K&S Associates. We'll be washing cars, and I think Mr. Glenn Clark will make a presence in his Speedo.
All right. Yes, I've got the Speedo, Dave. Am I good?
I will be there in my mine's not a short Speedo, but I've got a bathing suit.
You got something a little more appropriate?
I will be there tomorrow.
Am I going to be out of place? I thought we were going super sexy for this car wash. I thought that was the idea, was to get all of the young ladies in town out because the boys of Hamden were going to bring the sex appeal. Was I correct about that?
We are doing that. We are 7 or 8 deep in that 12-man calendar. We're going to show up tomorrow. We're going to have some fun. We're going to be a little sexy.
How much are the car washes, Dave? How much are the car washes? Sorry to interrupt.
So the car washes most cars are going to be $15.
Okay.
We want to roll them through.
Yep.
We're going to have refreshments here, balloons here. We want to make it like a party atmosphere.
All right.
And everything's going towards making this calendar to support the Hamden Family Center, who does wonderful things in the neighborhood.
So that's the important part here.
Yeah,
that's the important. Like we're having fun and we're being silly and we're gonna be models for your calendar and we're willing to do all that. But the important part is this is about raising money for a really wonderful charity.
Yeah, they're a great charity. They provide so many programs and support services for this area. It's not even funny. They help so many adults and children. They take clothes in for people. They just support so many things in this area. We want to give back to them. We know they got hit hard with the pandemic. We tried to do this back in 2016. We raised money back in 2016. We raised money in 2020, but we didn't get to do it like we want to do it now. Yeah. We want to raise the most money we can for this charity, and we want to blow it out. We're going to have a website, boysofhamden.com, where you'll be able to buy the calendar. The calendar will be out in November of this year for next year. We want to push the button. We want to raise as much money as possible. We want to go international, Glenn. That's what we want to do.
Now, you told me that Glenn and you want me to be part of this, too.
No doubt about it. Stan, we want to see you naked. That's what we want to do.
Well, that's about the size of it for me.
I hate to say this. I have.
Yeah. When
I'm sorry.
We were staying in a hotel room together.
Oh, that's right. You have. That's back in the days I was heavy.
It was great.
But what month can we ask for a certain month?
I was told September.
Actually, I have you September, to be honest
Yeah.
with you.
All right.
Dan.
I see. I think we're the
I
boys.
figured I'd
I
get
think
you
we're
into
the
the
boys.
fall.
I think we're the boys of summer.
The boys of summer, the classically.
Well, I take June, so it's tough. But
All
yeah,
right.
we try to get you. We're going to get you right where school starts. We
All
want
right.
people to get out there and see it.
Okay.
So
All right,
that's what we'd like.
boysofhamden.com is the website, and the important
No
part is
doubt.
tomorrow morning, 3939 Falls Road, K&S Associates, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're gonna be washing cars. We're gonna sex it up. We're gonna make all of ladies, gentlemen, whatever you're into. You're gonna be drooling when you
No
see
doubt
the
about it.
boys
We
that are
wanna
out
have
there.
Fun. We want you all to come out. Please, everybody come out. We want it to be a party. We're ready to move forward. Our calendar's called Moving On, and that's what we're looking to do.
And Dave, just one more thing about the
Yes, sir.
Hamden Family Center. I know it's been a real favorite for Amir, the owner of K&S Associates, which is a wonderful car repair place for foreign cars.
Thanks,
Do you
yeah.
even do domestic? I don't even remember if you do.
We do body work and we do mechanical work. Most of our mechanical work is on imports.
Yep.
But we do body work as well. And we've been here almost over 40 years.
Yep.
We're just trying to support this area as much as we possibly can.
That's what I
because
wanted to
it's
ask
given
you.
back to us.
How many years has Amir tried to help and raise money for the Hamden Family Center?
The Hamden Family Center, Amir's been part of that Hamden Family Center for at least 20 years.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
The original founder and Lisa Gringer was there. Now we have Ashley working it, and we're so supportive of them.
Okay.
Amir helps as much as he can as well.
All right.
You can find out more by going to hamdenfamilycenter.org about what it is they do and why it is that we're bearing all. We're showing our skin in order to support.
We want everybody to come out. We want to see Glenn as much as Glenn as we possibly
Dave,
can.
here's my this is the caveat. No pictures. And this is the reason why. Because I want people to show up. I
agree.
I don't want anybody thinking like, I'll
look
check
at
out the pictures later. No.
I agree.
No.
They got to come out.
No
They gotta come out.
pictures.
You guys, listen, you want to see you in the flesh anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Come
You
on.
want to be there. You want to see me in the stupid hot dog Speedo. You got to show up tomorrow, get your car washed at K&S Associates
what time?
on Falls
9 to
Road.
1?
Yes.
9 to 1, and I'll be a pirate. Bring it on. Let's
Love
go.
it.
All right, I'm
Love
going to
it.
be out there about 10:45. I'll get there.
People come out and see Stan. He'll be out here around 10:45, 11. Come on down to see us. Please, everybody come out. Donate as much as you can.
And I'm going to get
Helps
a
us
car
support the
wash, too.
charity.
I'm getting a car wash.
Dave,
Bring it on.
appreciate you, my friend. Looking
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
Definitely. Let's push the envelope. Thanks, guys.
Love
Thanks
it.
so much.
Dave from K&S Associates. I'm actually nervous, Stan, and I don't get nervous about a lot of things.
What about whether the O's are going to trade Jorge Lopez?
I'm only. Who cares? Like, how's that going to affect my life? But tomorrow, I'm actually. I've never.
What are you nervous about?
I've never. Is something going to fall out, or is am I gonna? I don't know if you know this, Stan, but I'm in better shape than I was once upon a time. But I still have
a long pullover thing, not to have one all the time, but if you sense it's falling, then you throw that on. Just in case.
I'm going to. I think the play was going to be. I wanted to get the old basketball tearaway pants.
Yeah.
Right. And my play was going to be, if you were there to see me, if you were there for me, I would tear off the tearaway pants as I went to wash your car. Otherwise, I keep the tearaway pants on. I haven't made a final decision on what I'm doing. It also, I don't drink, but tomorrow might be a good day to reconsider that thought process. Dave's talking about asking everybody to bring another 30-pack with you. I'm like, maybe I could use a 30-pack for myself for getting through this thing.
All right.
Maybe that would be the case. I actually, in a weird way, kind of just wish I was fat again. Because fat guys in Speedos, hilarious.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Yes.
Good-looking guys in Speedos, good-looking. I'm some weird in between those things.
I eat too much sugar to be thin. I mean, my weight I'd still like to be down. During my COVID thing, I went from 220 to 207. Unfortunately, I put it all back on in like 2.5 weeks.
But it's all muscle, right?
No, it's not muscle. It's all flab in the middle.
Well, you've been carrying stuff out of this office for the last couple of weeks. I thought you were putting on muscle.
I'm not.
I thought that was the case.
No. I've had a bum foot.
Oh, that's
I've
true.
been wearing a brace for like
right.
6 weeks. I got the clearance to go back and start walking again.
All right. Well, look, I'm gonna wash the car. I'm gonna wear it.
Yep.
I'm gonna put the Speedo on tomorrow morning.
Yep.
I might I might artificially enhance that Speedo. I put it on for my wife the other day, and
This
she was
looks pretty good.
Yeah, right. I put Paul Valley's mic screen on.
Right.
Jesus, poor guy. Hey, Paul, here's your mic screen back, bud.
Yeah, right. How do we know that's Paul Valley?
Because it says PV3 on it.
Oh, okay.
Paul Valley the third.
That's right. He's the third.
What I walked into the room the other day for my wife to see it, and she was like, "That's really small." And I was like, "What? My thing?" She was like, "No, the Speedo." I'm like, "Wait a second. I'm a little bit nervous about how you made that statement." She's like,
really
"Right?"
small.
She said, "That's what she said to me when I was standing there in a Speedo. That's really small." Hey, wait, what?
Do you have it with you now? I mean, is there any
No,
shot you could show?
I'm not. No, I said, "You want to see it? This
Griffin
the deal.
and I would love to see it.
They better come get your car washed
Well,
tomorrow."
I'm getting a car
All right.
wash, and I'm
I know, and
gonna
you're helping
wash
out,
cars.
right? You're helping out. You'll get to see it. Griffin wants to see it. He can come get his car washed.
Yeah.
I said the same thing to my closest friends. This would not be. They were like, I throw a party every summer. They're like, "Would you put it on that day?" Nope, won't be. You want to see me in the Speedo? It's very simple. Show up tomorrow. Get your car washed. K&S Associates in Hamden.
3939 Falls Road.
That's the end of the story. There will be no other appearances for said Speedo. Not gonna happen. No. Have you not worn a Speedo before? It doesn't fall out unless you ordered a size too big a size. Well, that's the thing, John. I ordered a size too. I purposely ordered
a size too small.
Not too small, but I made the decision of what size to get based on the idea that I think it's supposed to be tight.
Tight, right.
And no, the answer is I have not worn a Speedo before. I was never a swimmer. I have no reason to have worn a Speedo at any point until trying to raise money for the Hamden Family Center.
Mine is a Speedo, but it's got the long legs down almost.
Oh, you're like the Michael Phelps thing,
Yeah.
right? Like you're wearing like the swim pants, essentially, is what you've got. Tomorrow morning, that's the deal. We'll see you at K&S Associates. All right, we got to get one more break, and we'll come back in. Tidbit Tubular. Stan is going to hang out for just one more minute, too, and we'll talk a little bit more about Tony as we've been talking throughout the week. That's all on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
Are you ready, soccer fans? This summer, the English Premier League returns to Baltimore. Arsenal, Everton, square off in the Charm City match, July 16th, under the lights at M&T Bank Stadium, home of the Baltimore Ravens. This is your only opportunity to take in a Premier League match this summer in the Mid-Atlantic region. Individual and group tickets are on sale at BaltimoreRavens.com.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Come in for Glory Burgers, Glory Wings. There's glory for everyone at Glory Days Grill. Enjoy our award-winning burgers, ribs, and wings, or try our fresh salads, hand-cut salmon, or our scrumptious sandwiches. Yum! Come in for our daily specials every weekday, like $7.99 burgers on Mondays and $6.99 nachos on Thursdays. Dine in and let us serve you, or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and take it home. Visit us at glorydaysgrill.com for a location near you. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
The 2022 baseball season is in full swing, and the future is brighter than ever for your Baltimore Orioles. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
And together we bring you the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon with everything you need to know about the Orioles and baseball as a whole. From veterans like Cedric Mullins, Austin Hayes, and Ryan Mountcastle,
to young stars like Adley Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez, and DL Hall.
We've got you covered for every game, every pitch,
and every debut.
You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. So join us live on the Bat Around every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports. It's statistically proven that the show sounds better if you're not wearing pants. Like me, right now. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
Stan the Fan here in studio with us. Stan, I mentioned you've had a busy week. You've been doing a bunch of shows this week.
Yeah, did a show last Monday with Ross Grimsley. We had Luke Jackson on. Then we had the terrible double gut punch of the death of Jalen Ferguson and Tony Siragusa. So you and I went on, and John Colson in the middle of the afternoon. And then Wednesday evening I had, I can't even
Kyle Harrison.
Kyle Harrison with Gary Stein. Last night I did about a 40-minute interview with Terry Hazelton on my own. Gary wasn't around. So it's been a pretty busy week.
All those shows available right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline. Or PressBoxOnline.com/video is where you can find all of it.
And I also wrote a column this week that's on the website entitled "The Worst Day in Ravens History."
Yeah, I mean, there's just no getting around the incredible sadness of the last 48 hours. I guess now 72 hours, going back to when Jalen Ferguson passed away. But the thing with I don't want to give anything away because I'm going to write a column about it for Monday. Yeah. I'm blown away, and you and I and John talked about this, how much I'm realizing the impact Tony had on establishing this franchise and the relationship between this franchise and this city. Like, it's something that I just hadn't spent a lot of time thinking about.
He was a key player that he was so funny and so infectious in his sense of humor and the way he kidded and cajoled and kibitzed, that he was a throwback to Artie Donovan, and you made that point. He was a throwback to Artie Donovan, and that sort of reminded people what they loved about the Colts was having some players in town that were personalities.
Yep.
And Tony had a larger-than-life personality, and to find out that just, what speaks to what kind of guy he was, it wasn't like he came down from New Jersey just to get free crabs.
Yep.
It was that, hey, I want to eat crabs because I love doing it.
I want to support you.
I want to go to the Costas Inn, And he was there, as I understand it, in the last week.
The point that I never thought about is for someone who became such an overwhelming celebrity to have stayed as grounded in his family, in his marriage as he did. Yeah. To continue to prioritize taking care of the guys that he got to know, his teammates. Lionel Dalton was joking with us yesterday. He's like, "Look, man, I had to go buy these $1,000 rib dinners for Tony Siragusa when I didn't have the money, right?"
Yep.
But he made a very quick point. He's like, "But he paid me back, and he didn't pay me back in cash. I still had to go buy the dinner, but he paid me back later on in the year. He took me out." He took me out. He made sure that I knew that he had my back at all times. I'm trying to find the right way to state it, Stan, because the Ravens would have become the Ravens simply by being good, right? They would have become a beloved franchise by winning a Super Bowl, by having Hall of Fame caliber football players that guys wanted. We wanted to go watch Ray Lewis play. We wanted to watch. That was always going to be the case. But the uniqueness that Stephen Means, who just re-signed with the Ravens, who was on the practice squad 7 years ago, went on, had success in Philadelphia, won a Super Bowl, put up some great numbers in Atlanta, said, when I was in Baltimore, I was happier being on the practice squad in Baltimore than I was being active in Tampa. And that thing, that feeling, what makes this so unique and not just a successful franchise, but truly a model organization, that part of it, I think we can make a direct tie to the efforts of Tony Siragusa to walk out in the community and say, I don't want to be around the rich people. I don't want to be around the guys that own businesses. I don't want to be around. I want to be around the ugly guy, the fat drunk from Dundalk. I want to be around any single one of you. I want to be one of yours. I want to connect you to this thing that we're doing.
He had that. There's no question about it. I had the oddest thing happen with Tony. One night he told us on the show, because we were on Ravens radio when he was there, so he would come on a fair amount, and he was talking about that he was going to do an Arliss.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 3 weeks later, we got Robert Wool on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Not to talk about that, but I said, hey, you got to tell us about how did it go filming with, because I said 3 weeks. It could have been a year later.
Right.
And he goes, I don't even know who you're talking about. And he, sort of denied, and I'd watched
Very
the
weird.
episode.
Yeah, it definitely happened. There's no question
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Did he not? Did he think? That's very
what
weird.
he was
That's
saying.
super
He just,
weird.
denied that he even knew who Tony Siragusa. I don't know who you're talking
It's a
about.
very weird bit. No, he definitely was. There is no question that he was on our list. There is no doubt about that.
He was a funny man.
God, he was the absolute best. He was the absolute best. There's no question about it. What else has been on your mind this week? What else has been?
Just what hit me this week was the Yankees were playing as good a baseball as the Detroit Tigers were in 1984.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal.
They are really, really good. And last night I said, hey, it's 6-3 Houston after 6 or 7 innings. I said, well, they're finally playing another good team this next 4 days. Let's see what happens.
Yep.
They tied it up in the 9th and won it in the 9th.
Oh, I mean, Aaron Judge clearly wants $500 million or whatever.
Right.
I mean, he's playing like a man who's ready to make the most money in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
And I guess this is all going to come down to in Buck we're going to have to trust. We're going to need Buck Showalter to be the one that ruins this. We're going to need I've been maybe just because I happen to be talking to Caleb Joseph recently and Nelson Cruz was on this week. I'm realizing, as exciting as the Orioles are, I got to ramp back up my, I'm going to have to learn to be a Mets fan because I need it. I so badly need to see Buck Showalter win a World Series. I so badly need it. And
well, I root for that, but I don't find myself hating this Yankee team.
You and I are going to separate there.
Yeah,
I'll always.
I know that.
I'll
You hated
always.
Coach K, too.
100%. I'm going to.
Too. Yeah.
I do. I don't know. Where have you heard that before? Name one time I've said anything about that. One time
By the
ever.
way, their coach, I think Real Sports did a thing on him, or somebody did something on it. What's his name?
The mental health thing.
Matt Day?
No, Ryan Day. Ryan Day. Yes, I saw. It was. I think it was ESPN. Yeah, it was
really.
Yes,
it was
very
ESPN.
powerful.
Yeah,
it was very powerful. I agree
because he had a dad who killed himself.
100%. It was incredibly powerful.
And they have a player at Ohio State who has now since given up football. And Ryan Day helped him through a really rough time where he thought he didn't want to be here anymore.
Yep. I saw the piece is very moving.
You can't hate Ohio State.
I can hate Ohio State. I just don't have to hate him. You can still hate the concept of Ohio State. You're going out to watch lacrosse this weekend?
I'm going out tonight. I'm
going
tonight?
tonight?
Get out there tonight. I'm going to watch a couple, an hour and a half to 2 hours, the first game, then get home and watch the O's.
All right, very good. We'll talk about that more in
How about Dean Kramer?
2 good starts. I mean, I don't know what to say about it because Bruce Zimmerman made 5 good starts, right? I don't want to overreact to it, but as we talk about, that's the big issue is you look at next year and you're very concerned about pitching.
Yeah.
Because you're hoping that Grayson Rodriguez is just fine. I know DL Hall had a good start recently, but he's been, meh at AAA since he got there.
Yeah. I would like to see Bradish finish strongly this second half somehow, and Dean Kramer not pitch to a 0.00 ERA, but us feeling at the end of this season, hey, we got Means coming back, we got Tyler Wells, and we got these 2 guys. But I'm just telling you, the sheer numbers that Mike Elias is working with, and I guess it was okay when you wanted to keep payroll down and you didn't want to contend. But again, I go back to that spring training interview about 5 years ago with Billy Epler.
Okay.
And he was talking about, what do you want to see? And he was talking about, well, right now we got like 10 or 11 candidates for starting pitching. And this is in spring training. And he goes, I just don't think it's enough. And I go, what is he talking about?
Man.
You know, I said, he's got this guy. I forget who they were
Right.
now. And by May, he was struggling to have five healthy starters. And for what they went into this season with this year, I think they got to get a slap on the hand. You know, I sure would have liked to have seen Zach Davies back in an Oriole uniform for $1.5 million with an upside of another $1 million rather than Spencer Watkins.
I hear you. Yeah. It turns out Zach Davies maybe not a great guy, but you know.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah, it's not as bad as some other guys, but just
I did not know that.
Did you not read the? I really it was such a bummer for me. I really like Zach Davies.
Right.
Apparently moved out. He and his wife. He moved. She stayed back.
Okay.
He literally built a life with another woman. And just informed her without even.
There are other guys rather than
like, just didn't even have a conversation.
Right. No,
that's just one day sent a message.
Now, where was that story?
She was the one who shared it. So you know, I mean, I guess take it with a grain of salt. Although I don't remember ever hearing.
I'm not I might like Ryan Day.
Yeah,
and I might like Mike Krzyzewski.
No, I prefer.
I do not.
I prefer. Look,
one.
again, I don't. I'm not trying. This story really caught me off guard. All right, I'm going to read. This was from her Instagram. In 2021, my world as I knew it completely fell apart. My husband cut off all communication from me while I was back home in Arizona and he was in another state. He sent a text message at 6 a.m. and then blocked me. I soon found he was having an affair and I had to file for divorce without even having a single conversation with the person I built a life with. I spent 10 years supporting and loving this man. It doesn't look like it. It looks like not kids, just a wife.
That's a pretty hard. That's a pretty
rough.
Hard thing.
Again, far worse things that people have done. I want to be very careful. I want to be very careful. No, I don't care. Like I don't need everybody that plays for the team to be the nicest person ever.
Right.
It's
That's
domestic.
pretty bad.
Domestic violence is worse than that. There are far worse things that would be non-starters for me. This is not good, and it's sort of. It's a bummer because I really like Zach Davies. Had a number of conversations with him over the years and really rooted for him.
I've never talked to him.
I was like,
didn't know
this
that.
sucks.
But there are other examples of Zach Davies out there that the
Yes,
Orioles
correct.
gotten,
Could have signed for sure. Yeah, that was just
and
a
nothing
rough
against
story.
Spencer Watkins. Seems like the nicest guy
And he
in
made
the world,
two really good starts.
Yeah, but he's just not.
No, he's pretty clearly not a major league pitcher.
Has Zimmerman done anything since he's
Been down? I haven't even. I got to be honest with you. I haven't even looked. I'll try. Hang on. Zimmerman, baseball. Sorry. Bruce.
It's all right.
You sprung it on me.
Yeah.
And of course, they only have his major league stats. They don't have his minor league stats up there. I'll find it. In the meantime, let's get a tidbit. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Press Box. It's our Salute to Coaches issue. Stan the Fan personally delivered it out everywhere around town, all those hundreds of locations where you find Press Box, including 60 Royal Farm stores in the area. John Harbaugh's on the cover as we celebrate him going into his 15th season as an NFL head coach, which is a rarity. How did it happen? How did he stand the test of time? A number of the players who he had most impactful relationships with over the years. Spent some time talking about that. How did he manage to do this? Also inside, we recognize any multitude of area coaches who have either recently surpassed or are approaching milestones. Ken Niumatalolo from Navy, Sasho Sorovsky, Missy Maharg from Maryland, Pete Karinji from UMBC, Pat Clatchy from Mount St. Joe, Kendall Peace from Poly, and some recently retired coaches like Janine Tucker from Johns Hopkins and Lou Eckerl from Calvert Hall, with the athletes being the ones telling the story. You can find it at PressBoxOnline.com, but encourage you to go pick up that print issue of Press Box. It's a very special one today. It looks like 5 innings of work for Bruce Zimmerman It just doesn't look good.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it was. I'm trying to pull up the game log right now. Anyway, go ahead. Give me. What do you got for tidbit?
All right. So on Wednesday, Madison Bumgarner became the 86th pitcher in Major League Baseball to reach the 2,000 career strikeouts milestone.
You want me to name? You want us to name all 85?
Yeah, name all 85.
Name all 85 pitchers that have thrown 2,000 strikeouts.
So he is the 8th.
Luckily, Stan actually spent this morning looking up that exact fact, and he can
really?
not only going to get all 85, he can get them in order, 1 to 85.
Well,
right
mine
now.
is. Then I guess it should still be easy. He's the 8th active player to reach that benchmark. So I have kind of a two-parter here. Who are the 7 other active players with 2,000 strikeouts, and then who are the next 5 closest to accomplishing the feat of 2,000 strikeouts?
Adam Wainwright, one of them?
Adam Wainwright
makes
is
a lot of
one
sense.
of them.
David Price.
David Price as well, yes.
Clayton Kershaw.
They actually, okay.
No, go ahead.
Kershaw, yes, Kershaw is on there.
Zach Greinke.
Yes, Greinke has 2,800.
Yeah. We're thinking of all old starters.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing here.
Justin Verlander.
Verlander has the most among active, 3,000.
Are these all guys that are over 2,000?
Yes,
or?
they're all over 2,000. And then I want the next 5 that are closest as well.
So we've got 5 of the 7 that are over 2,000.
Yes.
We've got 5 of the 7.
Yeah, we got Verlander, Wainwright, Price, Kershaw, Greinke.
Yeah.
We need 2 more that are over 2,000, and then 2 that are
5.
closest.
I want
5 that
I
are
want 5 that are
closest to
closest.
2,000.
Charlie Morton is not one of them.
No, Charlie Morton is not one of them.
Too many.
He is high up there, but he is
but
he's got
too many
1,500
injuries.
Chris Sale.
Chris Sale does have 2,000. He has the same exact amount of strikeouts as David Price.
Very good.
Both have 2,000, 1,500.
How about
Very
that?
good, Glenn.
How about that? Who else has 2,000 strikeouts?
There's one big guy you're missing. He's got.
Oh, Scherzer.
Yep,
Scherzer.
Scherzer also has 3,000. So Verlander and
Wow.
Scherzer both have 3,000.
Okay, so we got it.
So yep,
We
those are
got
top
the 7 that are over. Now
then
you're
who
looking
is
for the
close?
5 that are closest.
Yes.
Oh.
A little tougher, but
5 that are closest. Guys that
How
are.
about DeGrom?
no, not
I
DeGrom.
like that though. That's a good one.
He has 1,500 as
enough
well.
years.
He's
Not
not. He's
enough
not.
years.
He is close, but he's not one of the 5 closest.
What about Harvey?
Not.
Do you
no,
not count him
not
as
Harvey.
active?
No.
No, yeah, I would count him as active.
Yeah,
he's
but
not on there.
let's see. Oh God, there's got.
You might have to give me like the number in order to get a sense of.
Okay,
How
so
about
like-
Kluber? Kluber?
Kluber's close, but he is not
Not one of the
one of the 5th.
last.
Yeah, he's not one of the 5 closest. Kluber is the 7th closest actually.
Okay.
So you're getting closer, getting warmer.
Getting warmer.
What and how many? What's the number? How many strikeouts does Kluber
They
have?
have Kluber has 1,600. All these guys have
So they have to have
1,700. All
more
these
than-
guys have 1,700 plus, less than 2,000.
Garrett Cole.
There you go. Garrett Cole is the closest, 1,776.
Is Trevor Bauer's not? He has.
Yeah, his
No.
name's not
years,
active.
No, Bauer's not close.
Strasburg?
There you go. Strasburg is the
Very
5th
good.
closest.
Not this season though.
Yeah, 1,723.
Well, I mean,
You're looking
I'm
at
putting out.
teams. You're looking at teams. I can't think of teams. Pittsburgh doesn't have anybody. St. Louis, we got Wainwright. The Cubs. Do the Cubs have anybody?
Yu Darvish.
Yu Darvish is 6th closest.
Son of a
1,650.
I know he's not with the Cubs anymore, but it was
Son of
for some reason the Cubs triggered
That was a
me
good
with Yu
guess.
Darvish.
Might get there one day. About 400, 350 away.
Giants don't have anybody.
Oh, Bumgarner. Oh no, he's not there anymore, right?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Arizona. Arizona does have somebody.
Arizona does have somebody.
Zach Davies. No, it wasn't Zach Davies.
Is Ian Kennedy?
Ian Kennedy.
Really?
Good guess. Yeah, he is 1,733.
In a million years, I would have never.
Ian Kennedy closing out game. Well, I guess he's just in the bullpen. High leverage guy for Arizona right now.
Him having any
No doubt, right?
Yeah.
sustained period of starting games.
Proctor wanted to guess Tanaka. Is that who? You're
No,
guessing?
Tanaka
He's
is
not active though.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tanaka's.
Is it Evaldi?
Nope, not Evaldi.
You might
Kennedy
have
had 216 strikeouts in 2012.
Right.
Yeah, you might have to give us another. hint
Sorry, well, I clicked away. Let's see, you're missing 2. One of them, the Orioles faced him last night.
here. Johnny Cueto.
Johnny Cueto, 1,750 career strikeouts for Cueto.
I-
And last one, I don't think you'll ever get. Anibal Sanchez.
Very good.
If I'm being honest
Is
with
he
you, I
even
don't.
active?
Yeah, I don't know.
He is.
where,
He's on the IL right now. He's coming back from a neck thing. Should pitch
With
at
who?
some point.
Who's he?
With the Nationals. With the
I
Nationals.
did not realize that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Not that I would have guessed him either. For the record, I would not have guessed Anibal Sanchez on this list. All right, that's a good one. Tubular, brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, where you should be for all the big events, including UFC 276 next Saturday night. Israel Adesanya in action. Bet the fights. First of all, you get to watch the fights for free. You don't have to pay for the pay-per-view. Second of all, you could actually come out with more money than you began with by betting the fights on their 61 self-service kiosks. Reserve your spot right now. Events at sportssocialmd.com for UFC 276 next Saturday night. All right, Orioles, White Sox, night at 8. Kyle Bradish, Michael Kopech. Actually, did they move that? Because I thought I saw earlier that Austin Voth is going to start. Let me double-check on that. Tonight is... indeed, Austin Voth is going to start against Michael Kopech tonight, and then Kyle Bradish will start tomorrow against Lance Lynn. Tomorrow's at 2 o'clock on Masson, and then Jordan Lyles and Dylan Cease on Sunday at 2 o'clock, also on Masson.
White Sox have big advantage in all three matchups.
Pitching-wise, of course, 100%. Although, can't count this team out.
So my fantasy team yesterday, I had 3 starting pitchers go.
Who'd you have? Okay.
I had Zach Plesac.
Okay.
Good start, loss.
Lost. Team scored 0 runs.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I had Robbie Ray.
Okay.
Good start, loss.
Gave up 1 run. The team did not score while he was pitching. They ended up winning the game by brain fart by the manager there, who he brought in to save the game anyway. And then last night I had Johnny Cueto. No runs. So I had no runs in 3 starts.
Well, yeah, but
good ERA.
I was going to say,
ratio,
I was going to say, probably helpful for you. Yeah,
but
just
the
didn't.
wins.
Wins are
right. I hear you. Other highlights for this weekend. Stan mentioned he's going to be out tonight at Homewood Field. PLL all weekend. 1 game on TV. That's Redwoods Whip Snakes tonight at 6:30.
What station are those on?
That's on ESPN2. And then the rest will be on ESPN Plus. Chaos Water Dogs tonight at 9:15, and then 2 games tomorrow night. Cannons Chrome at 6. Archers Atlas at 8:45. All those on
are
ESPN
the games
Plus.
taking place at Hopkins.
All 4 are at, but 1 is on TV. The rest are on ESPN Plus. The first one tonight is on ESPN2. The rest are on ESPN Plus for the weekend.
Who's your favorite team?
I don't have. I told you. We talked about this the other day. I don't have a team.
I go by names.
Yeah, I'm rooting for.
I like the Redwoods.
Just because you like.
I like the name Redwoods.
Okay.
I'm rooting for the Cannons because Ryan Drenner's with them right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So.
I respect Ted Towson guys. I get that. Who's
Kobe's with the Atlas, so I'm kind of rooting for those 2 right now.
Look, I like Archers too.
This is the problem I have. Like, Logan Wisnauskas was on with us the other day. He didn't
with the Whip Snakes.
No, he's like the one guy that from Maryland that didn't go to the Whip Snakes. He went to Chrome.
Oh, he's with.
So, like, I want to root for. This is the problem. This is eternally the problem. You're not going to be able to get me to embrace a team. I just can't do it. Yeah. I still want to go out and support the event, and it's high level lacrosse that you're going to get to watch. But embracing the league and like watching next week. It's tough to get me to do because I don't have a team.
How many cities are they playing in?
Like 12, I want to say. Yeah, I think it's about 12.
I got to admit, I kind of scoffed at it when I first heard about it. Paul Rabel was built.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. There's no doubt. I think there's a limit to getting people to embrace something when there's no regional. Like, I need there to be, if it was the Baltimore Whip Snakes, the Maryland Whip Snakes, and they were playing games regularly at Homewood Field.
Know our old buddy Mark Fine is the president of a team in the indoor team.
In the NLL, yes,
the
correct.
Las Vegas Desert Dogs.
Hired
Desert Dogs.
A couple of people that he hired, I know. He brought some local folks out there to help him with that, what it is that he's doing. Stanley Cup's in the house tonight at 8 o'clock, Game 5 on ABC for the Lightning and Avalanche out in Denver as the Avs try to wrap it up. If a Game 6 is necessary, it would be Sunday night on ABC. And the College World Series final begins tomorrow night as Oklahoma and Ole Miss play Game 1 tomorrow night at 7 on ESPN. Game 2 is Sunday afternoon.
And how many games is that?
Best 2 of 3.
2 of 3.
So
that's the finals.
That's it. One of these 2 teams, either Oklahoma or Ole Miss, is winning the title.
Ben McDonald back in the booth.
Ben McDonald is back.
Midweek after the White.
You know what? What's weird? He's not doing the final. I don't know why. I mean, I guess this is the way the schedule worked. Right. That he wasn't there this weekend. Maybe he shows up randomly at some point.
Travel out to Seattle.
So he takes the West Coast. Yeah, that might be the case. All right, very good. Anything non-sports wise? The rest of the sports stuff you can find at GlennClarkRadio.com.
Your show, The Boys.
Oh, this is apparently a very graphic episode of The Boys today on Amazon. They're calling it Hero-gasm. I don't know, but I'm intrigued.
Wonder what that means.
I don't know.
Come Dance With Me season finale. First season finale.
I said highlights. Highlights.
Let's see, the Daytime Emmy Awards that are
No.
The Black Entertainment Awards are on Sunday.
The BET Awards, sure, yes, those are a big deal.
You watching The Old Man? Jeff Bridges and John.
I have not.
Good.
I have not. We were just talking about it the other day.
It's very well done.
Everybody's raving. I will add it to my list. I'm going to have to get there.
Let's see. Westworld.
You watch Peaky Blinders?
No.
That's what
I was recommended that like 5 years ago, and I just sort of wasn't in the mood for that at the time, and I just there's like a level of something like, am I ready for?
By the way, I feel like every time they start a season, it takes me about an episode. Like it's a grind to get through the first episode, and then after I get through it, I'm back, and I'm about. It took me probably 3 different times of sitting down to watch the first episode of this season, and then once I got through it, I was like, all right, let's go, and I'm ready to finish it.
Jane just watched 6 years of How to Get Away with Murder.
Oh, okay. Never
got
into it. Never got into it.
Westworld season 4 premiere Sunday night on HBO. What else? There's one more thing. Oh, Stan, you might like this one on Netflix. New movie, The Man from Toronto.
What is
Kevin Hart gets mistaken as like a hitman?
Oh yeah, that looks fun. That looks like a funny movie.
Woody Harrelson. Yeah. Otherwise, nothing
Bruce
much.
Posner
Nothing
gave
much.
Me a tip on a movie on Netflix called Speed Kills. It's a true story about speedboat racing in Miami, or something like that.
Okay.
Illegal speedboat racing.
All right. Maybe I'll take a look.
John Travolta.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had wondered where he was. I had wondered what he had been doing.
From 2018.
Stan will be on tomorrow morning with the boys for the bat around.
And then I'll be out at the car wash.
And then he'll be joining me tomorrow.
I'll probably drive to the car wash and do my thing
while you're
on the
sitting.
side,
Yeah, right.
And then get involved.
So listen to the guys 10 to noon. Join us at some point. I'll be there at 9. I got to duck out a little bit early because things I'm doing. But 9 to 1, we're washing cars, K&S Associates, 3939 Falls Road. I got the Speedo. We're going to sex it up for you. It's going to be a big day. Let's come raise some money for the Hamden Family Center tomorrow morning.
And real quick, what's the dates of the Women's World
Begin on the 29th. So Wednesday night is the first game.
Okay.
The U.S.
And
U.S.
it's like
and
a
Canada.
week long?
Like 10
through the
days?
9th, yes.
Yeah.
29th through 9th.
How many teams?
I mean, my God, it was so many more than I realized it was. And these are the teams, by the way. So I think I told everybody this week.
They have cities named next to them, or countries, don't they?
They
do.
have countries. They have
yeah.
countries, yes. So I am.
They didn't just call them Chrome.
Yeah, correct. They didn't call them Chrome. I am part of the. I'm part of the ESPN crew for the Women's College World Series.
Congratulations!
Not Women's College World Series. Women's Lacrosse World Championships. These are the countries that I have in my 2 groups.
Yeah.
New Zealand, Ireland. Okay, probably some easy pronounced names for the most part. Wales. Okay. Germany starts to get interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Austria starts to get interesting. Uganda.
Uh-oh.
Good luck.
Hong Kong.
You can always revert back. You remember Myron Cope?
Yes.
Not Myron Cope. Bob Prince. Bob Prince was the Chuck Thompson of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, somebody came up with the idea of making him the Penguins announcer.
Okay.
When he was like 65 years old.
Yeah.
And he would constantly revert to, and they've got it, and we've got it back. And,
yeah.
And they score. You know. There wasn't a name
For the record,
of a player.
I was once hired to do an indoor lacrosse event, and I got there, and there were no numbers on the jerseys. They were all wearing pennies. And I said, what am I supposed to do with this? And the guy that ran the event, and by the way, Tom Marichek was involved with this thing, and I love Tom. He's a lacrosse legend. Tom, I think it might have been Tom that I looked and said, what am I supposed to do with this? And he just said, just kind of do a talk show as the game's going on. Just sort of talk about what it is that you're seeing. Maybe do less play-by-play. See if anybody chimes in, like, on the broadcast. It's like, okay, that's what I'll do. Like, I remember real players that were playing this. Like, I remember, like, the only one that I'd seen that had walked out on the field, I saw Sean Nadlin. So anytime Sean Nadlin did anything, I announced it as Sean Nadlin. Nobody, right, exactly right. We had a chat before the thing began. Nobody else. Well, there's a goal for the gray team.
The team that Sean Nadelin is not on.
The field.
There's a lot of that. At Stan the Fan on Twitter is how you follow him. Appreciate you coming by and hanging out with us again, sir.
See you next Friday.
Thanks today as well to Keith Law. Thanks also to the great Kelly Gregg for checking in with us and sharing his thoughts about Tony Siragusa. That was special. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. The Bat Around tomorrow. Reed and I on the Fan Sunday 1 to 4, and then we'll see you back here on Monday for GCR. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Thanks to Ryan at RexSpexRyan. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. I've never said that.